A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us here on Hope TV. We are live from Meru for the Leadership and Economic Development Breakfast Forum. We welcome you to join us this informative session. Among the key speakers are Presiding Bishop Calisto Odede, Meru Governor Bishop Kawira Mwangaza, and the Speaker of the County Assembly of Meru Ayobundi, among other speakers. Be sure to follow us live on our social media platforms at YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Hope TV Kenya. My name is Dolly Mirikimbovi. You're welcome.
And thank you for heeding our call. Thank you for turning up. We are so grateful. Of course, almost everybody has been recognized, and so thank you. My name is Reverend Geoffrey, as Reverend Jack has mentioned, Reverend Geoffrey Ongondo. I serve here by God's grace as the senior pastor at Meru. So karibuni sana Meru. I serve with a team of pastors and church leaders, and they are crucial to the arrangement and for the planning and the execution of this very breakfast today. Let me ask Reverend Jane just to stand and wave her hand. Reverend Jane, also I'm told she's also called Pastor J. We call her Reverend Jane, but she's also called Pastor J. That's a pastor with us here, Karibu Sana, and thank you for that. We have Pastor James. Pastor James Njao is at the middle. Thank you. He told me he must sit that side because he's taking care of people. Thank you. That's Pastor James Njao. And of course, I have very many leaders here in church. Let me ask all the leaders who are in. If you are there, I know you are either sitting or serving, but let's just wave. So just stand and wave, all the leaders, wherever you are. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Kwani hapa kuna leaders hapa nyuma? Hata pale? Okay. Asante sana. And so karibuni sana Meru. As we muted this idea and thought through and told ourselves we need to invite leaders across Meru just to come and engage beyond the breakfast. Yes, it's a breakfast meeting, but beyond the breakfast, just to come. Why would we call people? Why would we bring you here and not to pray? Yes, we have prayed and we are coming to pray, but after praying, we also want to talk. So as we went around talking to people, some people asking me, Pastor, but nyinyi ni kanisa na wewe ni mchungaji, mbona utuite kwa mambo kama haya? Na a good number of you whom we sat, I explained why we do this. And so in a brief note, let me just mention that CITAM is an institution, is a church institution, is a church, and CITAM means Christ is the answer ministries. So Christ is the answer ministries. What answer is that? Christ gives answers to everything. Amen. We as a church, for you who came across our letter, we indicated in our letter that every place God gives us as CITAM an opportunity to have an assembly, or as this one, we engage beyond our spiritual matters. We engage with the community because we are concerned about community empowerment. Community empowerment. And so I asked some people the other day, I was asking them, if I come and preach and you get saved and then you sleep hungry, you may wonder, who is this God who has just saved you in the heart but is not concerned about your daily living? And so as CITAM, we operate on various principles, but among the things that we do, we have a strategic plan. And our strategic plan has 5 pillars. And these 5 pillars underscore all that we do as a church. Our first pillar is called missions. And in missions, we are focusing on the Great Commission. The Great Commission. Jesus said, go and make disciples. So everywhere we come, we go, we make disciples. In other words, we preach, we reach out, we present the gospel, and we present the gospel in a way that makes people to come to Christ. That's our first mandate, our first pillar. Our pillar number 2 is called discipleship. And discipleship, we are concerned about everybody who has given their life to Christ and is in touch with us does not stop there. They grow. They become more like Christ. Now, those of you who are church people, you know, and most of you are, we believe in the scriptures, including Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11, 12, 13, up to 14 and 15, that talks about we are all growing to become more like Christ. So discipleship, and we have various programs, and that goes beyond just church, and we engage even to the community. Our third pillar, of course, we are calling it care. And care, therefore, we take care of both people within CITAM and those CITAM comes across. The other day I was telling, not the county commissioner, I don't know whether it's the county commissioner I was mentioning to, or no, I think I was the DG. I was telling the DG that the other day we came across, we minister across this city, and as a place called Kigiaki. The other day, as we do mission in a ministry in conjunction with Compassionate International, we came across a family, a woman, an old lady with 4 grandchildren living in a place where they used juala to cover themselves, and water fields, and when it rains, they are in trouble, and they're in a community, and next to them is their brother and their sister, but they're not concerned. And we went there and built a house for them as a church, and they're not members of our church, but we built a house for them under what we call in terms of care. But our fourth pillar is called social transformation. Social transformation simply means that we are concerned about the transformation of all the society, and the society in the sense that people around us, those we come across, and we engage with the county government, we engage with the national government, we engage with the MP and ask the MP. He promised me last year that before July, Daoud, before July, he told me that this road would be curb road, curb road. Now, apaka sahi hajakuwa curb road, so he'll give us a report why this road is not yet curb road. Social transformation, we are concerned about that. The other day as you are all aware, when last year, when the hunger became very advanced in this country, the president raised a voice that people come up and institutions come up, and with the guidance of our presiding bishop here at CITAM raised finances to support people in various areas of this country who are in trouble with hunger. And then I told the bishop's office, of course, through the social action department, and I told them, Meru is also in trouble. And then I was told, no, Pastor, we can support up to 200 families. And I went to the county commissioner's office, and we sat down. And I asked him, I know through the government initiative, we have given support across the county, but we have something little. Can we come in? And he sent me to the Tigania East sub-county. The Tigania East ACC got in touch with our committee we set up here. They went to the villages down there, up to close to Isiolo, mapped out areas that was dire and that was dire need. And Bishop, I can assure you, over 100 families got the cash transfer here in Meru. We call it social transformation. So we are concerned about people beyond, and those people are not members of our church, sincerely. They are not. But we are concerned that there is need for people to have food on their tables. So that's why we do what we do. That's why we are here this morning. That's why we invited you. That we can come together, think together, and say we can grow beyond where we are. Come on, now you can clap to Jesus Christ. And so we are grateful for all of you who have come. And we are grateful for CITAM, led by our bishop, for granting us the opportunity and the financing to do this breakfast. I'm sure nobody asked for any money for this breakfast. It has been funded by CITAM, and we are grateful. And so at this point, and therefore, I want to bring our first speaker, who is our presiding bishop. If you saw in the letter, we had two foci in terms of good English, or two focuses in regards to this engagement. First is on leadership, and he'll speak to us briefly, and then after that we are grateful to have Dr. David Thuku here, a consultant in these matters of economic development and growth, and we will engage with them briefly, and then after that we'll again open it up for us, because we must find a way forward and agree on how we can move on. Are you with me? Put your hands together as we welcome Presiding Bishop Reverend Calisto Odede to take us forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend Geoffrey Ongondo and your team here at Sitam Meru and the initiatives that you have come up with. I do want to express my gratitude to all who have come today. Allow me to just also introduce my wife Elizabeth, who is there. Thank you very much. Who's been a partner in the ministry for very many years as we serve together. I want to acknowledge the various leaders who have come, the county commissioner, the women rep, the member of parliament, several MCA. Glad you made it. I met a number of you on Saturday night, and you promised you'll come. Glad to see you all who promised you'll be here. Thank you very much. Professor Diambo, VC Meru, thank you very much. And many other DVC, Mary, they are my good friend for many years, and a number of familiar people. And also to appreciate the clergy who are from Meru for being part of the hosting team here. This is not done alone by Sitam. This is a joint effort where the clergy have also come, and so we do want to appreciate the clergymen in Meru for this great initiative. Thank you all very much. Why are we doing this? And Reverend Ongondo has just made some statements. The church more often is viewed to be involved at the intervention level where there is disaster and where there are challenges. So the church comes at the tail end when issues have gone bad, then can the church come in and help? And we do a lot of that at Sitam. We actually are quite involved with children. We're supporting over I think 350 children from all over the country, some from Marsabit, Western Kenya, Northern Kenya, all over the country, spending about 9 million shillings every year in paying school fees for children. We also get involved in intervention situations like the one we had last year where we made lots of contribution. I think by the end we were spending close to 140 million Kenya shillings. And we got involved in Marsabit, in Samburu, we got involved in Kilifi, we got involved in Meru here, we got involved in Kajiado in just trying to help with the food situation in the country. And during that time, I had a strange encounter, a very strange encounter. A gentleman made an appointment to come and see me in my office. And when he arrived, he was actually a sultan, a Muslim leader, a Somali Muslim leader from Mogadishu. And I came to my office in Nairobi and requested whether a Sitam could be actually involved in helping with the famine situation in Somalia, which was actually much more aggressive than here. People had relocated and been gone and were living in displaced community around Mogadishu town because all the way from Jubaland there was famine, and this Muslim leader was actually in charge all the way up to Jubaland, and he came with two of his leaders. I sent in some people to Mogadishu. They checked and they brought a report with pictures, and indeed it was true. The situation was dire, and we got involved in mobilization of resources in Nairobi. And by the grace of God, we were able to raise 20,000 US dollars. That's about 2.5 million shillings. And I went to Mogadishu, and when I was taking this amount of support in Mogadishu, I found the leader had invited the county commissioners, he had invited members, 3 members of parliament, a government minister, leaders of the area, as we gave them this support. Not because they were members of Sitam, but because human needs does not know whether you are a Muslim or a Christian. And at that particular time, we respond by touching the needs of the people. And so we got involved in that. We got involved in Ukraine. Sitam Kenya raised money to actually support refugees who are coming from, sent money to Ukraine to support refugees who are coming into into Romania to take care of their needs. Now, I'm sharing with you all this. Right now, we are thinking of getting involved in Malawi because our bishops in Malawi who have written to me, they have sent documentation. Why am I mentioning all this? I think the important thing is this idea that we have nothing to give, that we cannot be able to help because God is moving in the church so that we actually as Africans are reaching that stage where we can assist people and where we can actually make a great impact in this nation and beyond. So we get involved at the intervention angle, but also we realize we need not only to wait for intervention situations where we start getting involved. We realize actually that we can prepare people, equip people so that they're able to have resources. And so we have two angles that we are mainly engaged with. One of the angles is what we call Sitam Business Forum, and we organize in most of our congregations business forums where we have business gathering and we invite people just to train them up. How can you come up and become self-employed and begin having some source of income? And then we have major gatherings where we bring speakers in, mainly business, dealing with business issues. This last March, we had close to 5,000 women who were gathered together in Nairobi from all over the country, and the idea was just business. And we were in partnership with banks, we were in partnership with institutions as we brought these women together. What we are recognizing is that we can actually do that. But the other approach that we also feel is important is to be able to have opportunity to share with leaders that actually when we are in leadership, it is a grand and a great opportunity that God has given us to bring transformation in our community and in our society. And so that's the reason why we are here today, that we feel if we are able to get the right kind of people, bring them together, encourage them, and share together, not because we have arrived and not because we know everything, but just survey it together, walk the journey together. We are all struggling in one way or another, but be able to see that actually as leaders, we've been given a privilege that we can make a great impact in our society. So I'm sharing with you this. Sitam is a Kenyan church. It is not an American church. Fully funded by Kenyans. Christians from Kenya are the ones who are giving. But a church that believes that actually our vision is wider than that, that we can bring transformation and changes at this level. So we get involved at political level. Some of you would remember even last year we were here. Was it last year? Last year we were here and we moved all over the country, again bringing people together, because we do believe that even as a church we can be involved in bringing transformation in our society and in our community. Long introduction. Let me go then to what I needed to share today. We have two aspects of our sharing, Meru Leadership and Economic Development Breakfast Forum. Now, the first aspect is leadership. The second aspect has to do with economic and development aspect. And I am going to share some remarks on leadership. Then my good brother, Dr. Thuku, David Thuku, will come and he will share with us on the economic aspect as we fellowship together. Dr. David Thuku is a consultant in this area and will be very, very helpful as he empowers people in this area. And as a church minister, I don't have any document that I can refer to share with you except the Bible. So would you allow me to share some of my thoughts from the Bible? Regardless of whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, allow me just to share some thoughts from the Bible. And I turn to the book of Nehemiah, chapter 5. I want to read a long passage there, verse 1 through verse 19, and share some remarks with us before I hand over. Now there was a great outcry of the people and of their wives against their Jewish brothers. For there were those who said, "We, our sons and our daughters are many. Therefore let us get grain that we may eat and live." And there were others who said, "We are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, and our houses that we might get grain because of the famine." Also, there were those who said, we have borrowed money for the king's tax on our fields and our vineyards, and now our flesh is like the flesh of our brothers, our children like their children. Yet behold, we are forcing our sons and our daughters to be slaves, and some of our daughters are forced into bondage already. And we are helpless because of our fields and our vineyards belong to others now. Then I was very angry. That's Nehemiah reporting. And when I had heard, Nehemiah was the governor. They said, then I was very angry. And when I had heard their outcry and these words, and I consulted with myself and contended with the nobles and the rulers and said to them, you are exacting usury, in other words, charging some kind of interest, each from his own brother. Therefore, I held a great assembly against them, picketing. And he said, and I said to them, andamano and demonstration. And I said to them, we, according to our ability, have redeemed our Jewish brothers who were sold to the nations. Now, would you even sell your brothers that they may be sold to us? Then they were silent and could not find a word to say. Again I said, the thing which you are doing is not good. Should you not walk in the fear of our God because of the reproach of the nations, our enemies? And likewise, I and my brothers and my servants are lending them money and grain. Please let us leave off this usury. Please give back to them this very day their fields, their vineyards, their olive groves, and their houses, also the 100th part of the money and of the grain, the new wine and the oil that are exacting them from them. Then they said, we will give it back. We'll require nothing from them. We will do exactly as you say. So I called the priest and took an oath from them that they would do according to this promise. I also shook out the front of my garment and said, thus may God shake out every man from his house and from his possessions who does not fulfill this promise. Even thus may he be shaken out and emptied. And all the assembly said, amen. And they praised the Lord. Then the people did according to the promise. Moreover, from the day that I was appointed to be the governor in the land of Judah, from the 20th year to the 32nd year of King Artaxerxes, for 12 years, neither I nor my kinsmen have eaten the governor's food allowance, forfeiting some of his benefits. But the former governors who were before me laid burdens on the people and took from them bread and wine besides 40 shekels of silver. Even their servants domineered the people, but I did not do so because of the fear of God. And I also applied myself to the work on this wall. We did not buy any land, and all my servants were gathered there for the work. Moreover, there were at my table 150 Jews and officials, besides those who came to us from the nations that were around us. Now, that which was prepared for each day was 1 ox and 6 choice sheep. Also birds were prepared for me, and once in 10 days all sorts of wine were furnished in abundance. Yet for all these I did not demand the governor's food allowance, because the servitude was heavy on these people. Remember me, O God, my God, for good according to all that I have done for your people. Remember me. We do not have to be journalists, particularly from the Western media, to paint Africa as a continent that is beleaguered with diverse problems. Listing some of these problems would do just as a way of pointing out the challenges that are facing us within the continent. We have issues to do with coups and counter-coups. Sudan has just happened to us right now. Wars and political instability, complete anarchy in some nations, refugee problems, with Kenya currently still hosting close to 200,000 refugees, runaway economies, poverty, illiteracy, ethnocentrism and ethnic hostilities. And we've seen this in Rwanda, we've seen this in Cote d'Ivoire, in Somalia, clanism mainly. Stormy political transitions or non-transitions as some entrench themselves to stay for life. Street children, mushrooming in formal settlement areas in urban centers, lack of clean water, high infant mortality rate which could be prevented, HIV/AIDS, degradation of the environment, multitudes of people both in the urban and in the rural who are yet to clearly know the direction forward, and many other problems that perhaps we could mention touching on the continent of Africa. A little while ago, I was in a gathering in Ghana when a forum like this, looking at development, when a physics professor who was a keynote speaker got up and he presented his talk, and he used his scientific genre in describing what Africa looked like, his scientific language. He said Africa is leaping from the third world to its own category, the nth world. He said the shape of Africa is a gloomy question mark. That as a part of the world where children have swollen bellies and sad eyes, where soldiers blast away at each other in endless wars for incomprehensible reasons. He said Africa today marches towards a total catastrophe, that the only reason Africa is still standing, he said, is because it does not know which direction to fall. This man went on to say, Africa is like a star which has abandoned the law of gravity of its original constellation and has become a wandering star which will remain so unless she can find an autonomous direction in its trajectory. A Ghanaian professor of physics made these statements. When the good professor finished, I raised up my hands. I said, "Sir, do we live in the same continent?" Because although he had made remarks about the situation of Africa, there are lots of good things in this continent that sometimes we become silent about. Some good things in this continent that actually have made the Western powers and the Western nation, and now I would say the Eastern nations, if I include China, want to completely come and dwell the continent of Africa because of the resources of this continent. And so if we only paint the negative picture of what Africa is and miss to bring out the fact that this continent actually has great resources, and this continent can move in a dimension that can change itself, sustain itself. What we therefore do need is to ingrain within us this ability to begin seeing that we are actually capable. We can do a lot. So why is CITAM sending money to the West? Why is CITAM involved in other areas? Just a change of a mindset that it is not only the West who are bringing in, that it is time for the African continents to begin rising up and make contribution in a global dimension. That it is our time, it is our day, it is our moment. The other day I had President Ruto sitting down and I said the same things to him. It's time for Africa to begin making contribution in other nations. Actually, it is time. I said, I'm looking forward to the days when Kenya will be loaning money to other nations. But sometimes this is not so because of what Mwalimu Julius Nyerere called that he referred to Kenya as a man-eat-man society. A man-eat-man society is one in which the downtrodden are financially and economically hemorrhaging in punitive taxation or unfair systems to pay for the lofty lifestyles of the elites. The elites are the ones who are benefiting from the poor. And Mwalimu Julius Nyerere referred to that as a man-eat-man society. An American cartoon called Pogo in one of the newspapers walked on, the cartoon picture is drawn with this cartoonist walking on soil and environments that have been degraded. And then the cartoon says, "We have found the enemy and they is us." there is us. We have found the enemy, and there is us. And ladies and gentlemen, circumstances and situations which are making the continent of Africa, which are making the counties, which are making the nations of Africa struggle, is not because of lack of resources of some of these challenges. It's because we have found the enemy, and there is us. The enemy is us. And so Nehemiah discovers that they have also found the enemy, and the enemy is us. Among their very own, the very Jewish people, they are the ones who are like leeches, suckling all the lifestyle of their own people. So what does it mean then to lead or to serve with the people at the heart? That's what I'm sharing about. Leading and serving with the people at the heart. We need to take notice, number one, of recurrent injustices. Verse 1 to 5 points out to us that the work of rebuilding the walls had been going on quite well. Within a short period of time, they had completed a half of the wall that they were rebuilding. And then all of a sudden, there was a great outcry from among the ordinary Jews as injustice and ill treatment drove some of them to the verge of starvation. With the work of rebuilding the walls going on, it was possible that some had ignored their fields, so they were not farming. They were concentrating on putting up these walls. They were not crying out against the Samaritans or against the Ammonites or against the Arabs, but against their own people. Jews were exploiting fellow Jews. The economic situation had become so desperate that even wives who usually would be quiet were also raising their voices and joining in the protest. Perhaps even the work was interfered with, and the end result was that there was a possibility of civil unrest and disobedience as men and women and their wives who were under normal circumstances quiet complained and protested against these injustices that were being practiced by the nobles. Like a case in a law court, it was the people versus the leaders, the nobles. Three categories of group. The first group were the laborers who worked in the city. They did not own land which they could borrow against. Their resources was totally used up and were faced with starvation. They could only cry out, our sons and our daughters are many, therefore let us get grain that we may eat and live. The second group possessed some little property, but were forced to borrow some money on their land so they could buy food. Thus they explained, we are mortgaging our fields, our vineyards, our houses, that we might get grain because of the famine. These small landowners were suffering because they could also not make ends meet. The third category had borrowed money to pay their taxes and had pledged their crops which had not yielded enough to repay their creditors. Subsequently, they had lost their fields and vineyards. The Persian king received a fortune from them as they paid usury, as they paid taxes to the Persian king at that particular time. Uncontrolled and runaway borrowing, including extortion from those who are in leadership, who are lining up their pockets with resources from the poor, and in the end, causing such a devastation that people were starving. Instead of empowering the people to utilize the land and the resources that they had, the leaders were lining up their pockets. The debt capacity of Kenya is estimated, according to IMF record 2023, 66.65% of our GDP is going into servicing of our debts. So IMF says. The borrowing at the national level trickles down so that my grandchildren will be paying part of what we are borrowing to eat today. And the economy is being affected. There is a projection that by June next year, when some of the bonds that we have, actually June 2024, some of the bonds mature that we have borrowed, that Kenya will enter into an economic collapse. Unless we either postpone the payment or some miracles happen that we are able to meet those obligations. And at the grassroots levels, nothing has really contributed much to the development and the growth of this country than devolution. As a matter of fact, I'm a strong supporter of devolution. I go to counties and I travel quite a lot across this nation. Counties where before, as I used to travel, you would not see something. You go to those places now, you get amazed by the kind of resources that has come down to these nations. Devolution has been an excellent model in bringing down the resources, trickling it to the common people. But as the resources come down to the common people, the necessity for us to have leaders and individuals who are heading institutions, who have ability to handle some of these resources, handle it with a mindset that we actually have the people at heart. It's not just us. We have the people at heart. We are concerned about the people. We want the people to benefit. It's not us. That the greatest joy that we can have is not us living in our 8-bedroomed house. It's not having millions in our bank account. That the greatest joy we can have is that there is no child that is not going to school. That there is no person that's not eating. That our people who are sick are able to get health facilities. That there are no places in our counties that are inaccessible because there are no roads. That we are able to have water that can provide. But this can only happen when we have people at the leadership level who have everyone at heart rather than themselves. And so Nehemiah not only brings out those injustices, he points out some remedial action that needs to be taken in verse 6 through verse 13. And he's pointing out this. He talks about his courageous outrage. He says, and I was angry and fuming that such a thing should have been done. The exploitation and the injustice that was taking place could not leave him the same. He was filled with righteous indignation because of what was happening. Perhaps the reason why certain kind of injustices take place is because we do not have enough people who can be angry enough. People who can be angry enough. You can't be doing this to your people. You can't be doing this with the public resources. You can't be doing this with the money that has been set aside for medical facilities. Where are angry people in Meru? Where are people who can be angry enough? Perhaps we just need two people who can direct their anger at the right places, at the right doors. Then we might be able to see some changes. We saw this anger coming among the populace in South Korea many, many years ago, and it brought the changes in South Korea. This anger was recently manifested in Sri Lanka to the extent they had a government change because of anger. And we need a few people who can be angry enough. Nehemiah said he consulted with himself. How do you consult with yourself? He held a committee meeting with himself. Nehemiah, sit down. Let me talk with you. And he consulted with himself. And when he consulted with himself, he said, the best thing for me to do under these circumstances is not to be impulsive, not to be temperamental, not to be moody, but to be directional. So he said, I'll confront these people. And he contended with the culprits, directly invited them and laid down before them. Now, you see what you're doing. This is what our people are going through. Reason with them and just put before them the end result of if they continued in their lifestyle, what the consequences were actually going to be. And he offered some remedial justices. You are not supposed to be taking usury from your people. Please grant your people some of these resources. Return back what you have taken. Empower your people. Encourage them. Strengthen them. And on top of that, he organized community picketing. He mobilized the public for a gathering, a baraza, and a maandamano. Says, therefore, I held a great assembly against them. Gary lives on the streets of Meru. We protest against them. Eh? Anyone here knows what I'm talking about? Haki yetu, haki yetu. That acting within the legal framework, not going outside the legal framework, acting within the legal framework in order to see a change take place in our institutions. He confronted the greed among them and emancipated his own people from their bondage and their captivity. Nehemiah covenanted with them. Let's come together. Let's sign a document of integrity. Let's sign a document of agreement. And in this document, this is what we are going to say. And they came together and they all signed that document. And Nehemiah put them under oath. If you don't, you'll be shaken out from among the people. This is the direction we want to go. As the leaders in Meru, as the leaders who have been given these resources, let's come together in a forum. Let's talk. Let's agree. This is the direction we want to go. But thirdly, and I'll end with this, Nehemiah also relinquished his own rights. In verse 14 through 19, he tells us that as a governor, it was his right to be given allowances, certain allowances, food allowances that were listed by the colonial government then, the Persian government that was ruling at that time. That a governor should be fed this many animals should be slaughtered and given to the governor. And Nehemiah said, I relinquished those. Because I looked at the condition of the people. I looked at how they were suffering. I looked at how they were struggling. I was not going to impose on them some more taxes for myself. So although it is my right, I'll forgo it. A leader who has the people at heart sometimes will go to a great extent, even to the extent when they feel inconvenienced, they themselves, because they are looking at the welfare of their own people. And I pray that God will help us, because Nehemiah concludes by saying, "For I did not do so because of the fear of God." Verse 15. I feared God. Why would one not take the money that is meant for the sick and for hospital? Because of the fear of God. Why would one not take or give a bribe to subvert justice? Because of the fear of the Lord. Why would one not grab land that does not belong to them? Because of the fear of the Lord. Why would one not exploit and take advantage of the weak? because of the fear of the Lord. And he concludes by saying, Lord, remember me for what I have done for your people. Remember me. If you were to write your own personal journal in the leadership journey that you have walked, what would you record down as something that you'd say, Lord, remember me for what I've done for your people. Remember me for the contribution I have made. Lord, remember me. I pray that God will help us. So, Father, help us as we progress along in this discussion. May you be glorified. Our greatest heart's desire is to see that Meru County explodes with such growth that it would be even an example in the whole country where others come to benchmark with what is happening in Meru. So give us guidance, give us direction as we continue on with reflecting on your word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you very much.
Wow. What a stimulation of our hearts and minds. And you want to cool it. At this point, I'll bring in immediately Dr. Thuku. Please pick points because we are engaging after this. Let me bring Dr. David Thuku immediately. Just come, David. Dr. Let him come immediately. Because again, we want to take care of our time. So, Karibu, Dr. As we mentioned earlier, of course, Dr. Thuku comes to us from, again, the financial sector, but also he will give us more about himself. As he told me earlier on, I know him more as the former CEO of Family Bank, but he can give us more details. Karibu, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rev. I feel it will be disservice if we don't start with doing a very good clap to Bishop. Let's do a very good clap to Bishop for setting the stage for our stimulating conversation. Let me also start by quickly asking the question, what do you think about taking the microphone from Bishop Odede and speaking to people after Bishop has had such a powerful speech? It is a great pleasure and honor to stand before you, ladies and gentlemen, as I continue with that conversation from the Bishop. And I'll not try to speak like the Bishop. I'll speak now from the economic side. And he has set the stage for me because he's asked questions that I want to be asking. Let me start by saying that it's a great pleasure to be standing in front of you in this county of Meru, ladies and gentlemen, to be speaking about this great topic of economic development and talking to leaders from such a diverse field. One wonders, where do you peg your conversation about economic development? Because we are so varied, we are so diverse. So I have a few points which I'll make as a conversation starter to drive our conversation, as opposed to speaking about economic theories. I will not be like the physics professor. I will not speak economic theories here. I will not state GDP growths and the complicated economies that one may be tempted to speak about. One thing is that I have the technical team. I will ask them to help me project a few slides so that we can be able to walk together. I was hoping this screen would be on so that I could be seeing what is on the screen so that we are aligned. So I don't know the technical team, but I'll keep checking. All right, I will try and coordinate with them so that I tell them when to move to what slide. So let me start by thanking CITAM for this wonderful idea, bringing people to reason together and think together. Because as Bishop has said, what we hear about Africa, what we hear about our counties, what we hear about local engagements is the negative stuff. So I want to start by commending CITAM for for this foresight to organize such a forum. And I really want to ask us to clap and appreciate the CITAM fraternity for this wonderful idea. Let me also thank you for the wisdom of combining these two topics, wisdom and economic development, because really they are one side of the same coin. They are twins that you cannot separate. And as I do so, let me also congratulate you for your 5th anniversary. A little bit about myself, and we can move to the next slide. Yes, it's still off, but we can move to the next slide, which is a little bit about myself, because I think it's important. Yes, when we were talking in the morning, and I told Reverend that don't introduce me with my former self, introduce me with my current self, because I'm an evangelist for a positive Africa. And let me tell you a little story. 31 years ago, when I was a young banker in Standard Chartered Bank, my boss called me to his office and he asked me a question which I'll never forget. And that question transformed my life. And he asked me the question. I had just enrolled at Strathmore University to do accounting, CPA. And I thought he was going to commend me for enrolling to do CPA. So he asked me, why are you doing CPA? Why have you enrolled to Strathmore to do CPA? I had a lot of respect for my boss then, and God rest his soul in eternal peace. Indeed, I've dedicated a whole chapter to him in a book that I wrote. The honest answer why I was doing CPA is because everybody around me was doing CPA. All my brothers, my cousins, everybody you had left university with was doing CPA. So that was the reason. Does that sound a good enough reason to tell an MD that I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it? Does it? Chief Margaret, does it sound like a good enough reason? That tell your MD I'm doing it because everybody is doing it. But that was the honest answer. And I thought about the intelligent answer to give my boss. And the more time I took, the more he realized I didn't have a good enough answer. And he asked me, might you be doing it because everybody else is doing it? And I told him, yes, sir. That's the honest truth. I was a very young fellow then. Just left university, joined the bank, and I was having a bright career in future. And he told me, young man, don't do things just because everybody else is doing it. When I look at you, I don't see an accountant. He was very honest. I don't see an accountant. I actually see a marketer in you more than an accountant. And if I were you, you either become what you want to be or become what everybody else wants you to be. And I told him then I want to follow what my passion is. And from that time, he asked me, have you ever considered being a marketer? I told him, to be honest, boss, I've never. And he's told me, when I look at you, I actually think you do a better marketing. 2 weeks after that conversation, he called me to the office and he told me, you remember the conversation we had? Yes, sir. There is an opportunity here for me to send somebody young to Singapore to train as a marketer. Are you interested? You can guess the answer, isn't it? I said I was interested, and I said, thank you very much. And I picked that because this was somebody who was leading with me in the heart. I said, yes, sir, I would wish to go and take that opportunity. And he sent me. Remember, we're starting with a question, where are you doing accounting? Because everybody is doing it. Could you consider doing a different thing? Yes. And he sent me to Singapore 31 years ago, and the year I spent there again completely shifted my mindset and how I focus on things. Because I went to a country where I found they had every reason to complain and say that there is nothing working for us. But I found a country that was working so super well. Everything functioned. And again, something that also shifted my life is that I got opportunity one day. I got enrolled in a program there for 1 year. And one evening, we had a forum like this, which is why I want to come to the point of you yourself as an individual in this forum. I don't know why you are here, because I'm sure Rev invited many people. Some are here, some are not here. So in the bulk of the conversation, I'll speak to you as an individual, as well as speaking to us as a group of people, because I don't know why you are here. God knows why you are here. May something from this forum change and shift you permanently. One of the things that shifted me permanently is when we were in Singapore during that year, one evening like this, we had a forum organized like this by the National University of Singapore, Standard Chartered Bank, and the Marketing Society in Singapore. And I was seated like where we are seated today. And one of the speakers in that forum is a person who had transformed Singapore to what it ended up being, Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. And there are a few words he said which have never left my mind. He spoke about greatness and smallness. Singapore is a very small country. You can look at the smallness and stop there and get fixated there. But you can look at the opportunity that you have, which is what he decided to do in 1965 when that small country was spat out of Malaysia and expelled, and everybody thought that country was going to collapse. Today, we go to benchmark in Singapore, don't we? Now, the reason I'm giving you this background is how I ended up, after many years, 30 years of banking, doing Africa Positivity. Bishop has spoken about this description of Africa by many people. Yet, Africa, if you ask me, is the greatest continent on earth. The richest continent in terms of capacity to be the one that is giving out, as Bishop has said, to the rest of the world. But that's not what is known. Africa is known to be the poorest, where everybody has to come and donate, because all we have is just poor kids you see in photos out there. As I worked 30 years in the banking industry, the bulk of them I worked for multinationals. And I got the opportunity to work a lot outside this continent and within this continent as well. The more I worked, the more I got pained about the contradiction I saw of the richest continent ending up being the poorest in terms of economic well-being and standards of living. That's a contradiction that everybody should ask themselves and get angry enough, as Bishop has reminded us, to say there is something not adding up here. We cannot be the richest, and it's God who gave us those resources, then end up being the people who are the poorest, who must keep getting donations by people who are poorer than us. Something is not adding up there. What is not adding up? And that is what I want us to focus on today. It's not that we don't have physical might to transform your own household. It's not the physical muscle. Africans, we are very gifted physically. That is why we were shipped to the South America to go and farm sugarcane, because we are physically very strong. But what is our problem? What is our problem? The problem is we do not want to engage upstairs. Mindset. The challenge is in here, not here. Physically, we can fight. We can kill each other from morning to evening. That we can do very well. But when it comes to engaging our mindset in a way that transforms all this richness in your household, in your company, in Meru, in Kenya, in Africa, that's where the challenge is. So Africa is great. Let nobody cheat you. It's the greatest continent on earth. Kenya is great. Kenya is very innovative. Do you know the country in the world which has developed the biggest digital financial ecosystem in the world? I'm not talking about Africa, in the world. Do you know its name? What is that country? You people are looking at me and not fearing to say, what is that country? It is Kenya. But we don't even know. M-Pesa is something that you study everywhere in the world. Is the biggest financial ecosystem in the world, not in Africa, not in sub-Saharan Africa, in the world. Is that what we know Kenya for? Which country produced the first black African in the biggest economy in the world? You guys are shy to say it, other than Reverend. Which country? Which country in the world can actually go to an international event, 10,000 meter steeplechase, and number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 follow each other from one country? Which country? Why are you saying as if you are shy? Because we've been socialized differently. Do you think it's coincidence that we've been socialized differently? It's not coincidence. Which country, let me even forget country now, let me come to counties. Which county produced coffee commercially the first time in this East African region? Which county? Again, you are munaenda huku chini. Which county is the county where we are in? Who produced coffee commercially after the Mzungu brought it here? Mnaniangalia, ni county inaitwa Meru. That's where we planted coffee the first time. By the time it went to Nyeri, Kiambu, wherever, it came here. Now, I can go on and on and on. What about your own household? What's the greatness in your household? Your own self. Now, Bishop spoke about leadership. And I was writing a few notes. One note I wrote is that the enemy is who? Is us. There is us. And when we were chatting there with Bishop, he said, I just made a brief introduction. He said, have you read my notes? Because I was starting to my conversation about challenging ourselves about this. And I told him, that's divine. The enemy is us. The opportunities in Meru for us to transform economically and become giants as Meru. Who is the enemy? Kirinyaga County? Nairobi? It is? What about your household? Who is holding you back? The neighbor. It is us. I want to say that we need to have a meeting with ourselves. If you are your own enemy, like Nehemiah, I want us to have a meeting with ourselves in this forum. Because the challenge with us is that we procrastinate, we wait to make the decision tomorrow. Not today, tomorrow. But I want to challenge us because we are from very different backgrounds. I don't know why God has made you to stay here up to this moment in time, but I want to challenge you. If you leave here, nothing changes, then we'll have done a lot of disservice to Reverend Ongondo and the team and the Sitam fraternity who thought, no, hang on. There's something beyond just preaching the word of God that we can do within this space. And I'm really so grateful for that insight. Because that's the challenge. We don't want to have a meeting amongst ourselves and with ourselves to answer the tough questions that we need to answer. So, you are a great individual, you are a great county, you are a great community. That's a fact. So, when I got challenged, what I do now is that I facilitate individuals and communities and organizations to realize that greatness. I facilitate, I talk, I coach, I mentor, I consult, I sit on boards, but wherever I sit, mine is to challenge us Africans. I only do my work in Africa. And I've got clans within 15 African countries, and I speak the same way. I am not apologetic about the fact that there is something great. And God was not stupid to lay the biggest resources in Africa. Those of you who've been to Belgium and you see the nice Belgian roads and you see all the institutions there, that is Congo wealth. It's Africa. Why did the colonists come to Africa? Because they loved us very much? No, because we are the richest continent. We have resources that they need. Now, who should those resources transform first? Us. But the enemy is us. So that's the challenge I want us to discuss today. But now here is a challenge I face, because how do you talk to that through such a topic that is so wide, exploiting opportunities, some in agriculture, some in commerce, some are bankers, some are leaders. How do you condense such a topic to such a forum in a short while? And I thought about how to do this, and I thought, let me pitch it at two levels. And I'll ask the studio people to move to our first slide so that I tell you what I thought we do today. This is a complicated topic. The man on the left is trying to look and figuring, how do I go through all this complicated topic of economic opportunity? So I thought about, why not deal with two questions at two levels? At individual level, as a community. And I want us to ask ourselves that question. And the question is, how can I tap into the opportunities available to me in Meru County, in the country, in general, in Africa, because we are wide globally, because we are joined by technology to improve my economic well-being and quality of life. So I emphasize here economic well-being and quality of life. Because our quality of life, as Bishop was sharing, when you go to a place and you find today, almost 60 years after independence, somebody sleeping and under the conditions he described, somebody today dying of hunger in Africa, that's not right. There is something wrong there. Nobody should be dying of hunger. So I want us to think about economic well-being. I want us to think about quality of life. Because this topic is too wide, and the second level is the same question, but now as a community, because we are leaders here. How can we answer the same question from a community perspective as the people who take charge of Meru? And Chief Margaret, you will allow me to use you as an example, because you are in a space within the county which you take leadership over people. How can you tap into the opportunities within that specific locality? And as I shared earlier, the mind or the seed was planted in me that whenever you have a leadership position, and Bishop reminded us about it, you lead and serve with the people at heart, wherever you are. It's not about you as a leader, it's about me. And that is a challenge we have on our continent. And we end up with situations where we have the leader versus us. Now, let me say something about economic well-being and quality of life. And if you move to the next slide, I want to make the point that these are not things that you can conceal. They are very visible. That, if a studio, you can move to the next slide so that we move together. Yes. Well-being and economic well-being and quality of life are not things you can hide. You don't need to be told. You see it glaring. When you see us shifting from mud houses, grass-thatched houses to brick houses like what you see on the right, what's happening there? You can see the quality of life is improving, isn't it? It's not something you can conceal. When you see very thin, tick-infested cows, and you migrate that to very well-fed herds of cows, what's happening there? There's economic well-being. So I don't want to talk about GDP. I don't want to talk complicated rocket science. I don't want to be like the physics professor that Bishop spoke about. I want us to remain very simple. That economic well-being and standards of living is something that we see. We don't need to be told. In your household, if I come, I'll see. When I come to Sita Meru, I see that I can see leadership here. And Rev, one of the things I observe is order. As I sat there and the praise and worship team was leaving the stage, they left in a very orderly fashion, walking out to where they were. I can see order. And as I said, well-being, leadership go hand in hand. So without even sitting and going through, I can tell that this place is having good leadership. I don't need to be told. I just need to open my eyes. So well-being is something very observable. If you see, Rev spoke about the dusty road and said it will be curb road. Again, when that happens, we will be able to see it. When we see street lights, we know things are happening. So as I move from county to county, as I move from country to country, as I move from economy to economy, I don't need to be told, I just see. The next thing that I want to say, so when you expand from a small retail shop and you see you with a huge supermarket chain, we don't need to be told, we see. But there's something I want us to bear in mind here as all that is happening. And if Jedida, we could move to the next slide. As all this is happening, I want us to bear in mind the warning flags that sometimes come with all this development. When you start seeing levels of suicide, attempted suicide, for example, happening as we grow, as our status and our standards of living are going high, as we start seeing domestic violence going up, as we start seeing very unsatiable greed, which is a clip on my bottom right there, there's a guy who is being fed and you can see who is feeding him. When we see that level of greed, those are warning red flags that as we grow, as we develop, we should not ignore. Because if we ignore, they will come to bite us. We see kids taking drugs, injecting themselves. Alcohol. It's not random coincidence. There is something happening that somebody needs to engage their brain and say, okay, what's happening here? What about the pollution we see in our rivers, we see in our forests, we see on the roads everywhere as we develop? What about the droughts? Do they have anything to do with development? The answer is yes. When we want to speak at the level of the professor, we'll talk about global warming and climate change. Last week I was in Kajiado and we said, it was a rural community, and we said, here we can see the effects of climate change. But to this community, we are not going to mention the word climate change because that will just fly above them. But when you have that clip of dead animals, they can relate with that. And when you speak with them, they tell you, here, we used to be very sure that April will get rain. November will get rain. Now we don't. They can relate with that, and you can bring in your complicated climate change conversation at that point. Because you'll tell them, okay, you see the effects. How can you change that? There are some trees you can plant which can actually resist the drought and bring rain. And so that we don't cut all these trees, so that we don't have the sort of global warming that we are having. So all these things are red flags we should not ignore. Hosea reminded people that we perish because of what? Lack of knowledge. So I don't want us to develop while we ignore the red flags. So I want us to revise slightly the question I asked earlier that we want to focus on. And if Jedida, you can move to the next slide, which has the question. Remember, we had the question of how we can tap into the potential. So I want us to always bear in mind that you don't want to ignore the red flags. You don't want to develop so fast. You don't want to grow your household so fast, but you've forgotten the guys at home and they become drug addicts. Because what happens, you'll go to the cycle because they will not propel the wealth that you've generated in your generation. So we cannot ignore the red flags. if we continue with the sort of unsatiable greed that we exhibit a lot in our continent, what happens is that increasingly there is dissent. People start looking at each other as enemies, and we start killing each other because we think one is advantaged than the other. So, having promised that I was not going to look at complicated conversations, I want to give you a simple way of then asking the right questions to yourself as an individual to be able to answer those questions and end up with tapping into the opportunities. Is that okay? So let's move ahead. I'm going to introduce you to my 5 wives and 1 husband. 4 wives. If you have time, I'll introduce a bonus one, the 5th one. And because I know I'm with Bishop, Reverend, and polygamy may not be favored very well, I will introduce them nicely. Now, I like this framework of 5 wives and 1 husband. I've stuck with the first 4, but if we have time, we'll get even to the 5th one. Because I like simple things to remember. Simple things that I can work with, people's things that can, because I said our challenge, the enemy is us, the enemy is our laziness to ask ourselves those hard questions and answer them to ourselves. We expect somebody else to answer the questions. But I want, as I said, at your own individual level, as I introduce you to these wives, please apply it to yourself. Let's introduce the first wife, Jedida, by clicking to the next slide. The first wife is a wife called Why. This, and you know in Africa, wife number 1 is very important. Hata ndiye analeta hao mabibi zengine, wengine. So wife number 1 is a why. And the question you want to always ask yourself, and is a question that I was asked by my boss, and I always remember, why are you doing what you are doing today? Why do you want to do what you want to do? Before you answer yourself, don't move too fast. Ask yourself that very deep question, why am I doing what I'm doing? The job you are doing today, whether you are employed somewhere, whether you are working in your farm, where are you farming the crops you are farming? Where are you farming tea and not macadamia? Is it because everybody else is farming macadamia? Why are you farming avocado if you are a farmer and not tea? Is it because there is a wave that is going towards macadamia? So whatever you are doing, why do you want to start that shop in Maua? Is it because everybody is starting a shop in Maua? So don't just do things for the sake of doing it. You've seen people, some craze sometimes, people relocating, say, to the US. There is a craze of people seeking green cards, and you feel like you are missing out because you are not relocating. So before you do what you are doing, think seriously about why you are doing it. Why are you here today? Why are we discussing leadership and economic forum? It's because we see opportunity to transform Meru and the people in the room and the people we impact in a big way. So why? Keep asking. Is it because you have a competitive advantage in what you want to do and you can do it much better than others? Africa, there is a lot we can do much better than others, but we must answer the question why we are doing it. So let's not do things because the direction is blowing that way. Let's do it because we have a special skill, we have a special talent that you can exploit and make it big. Another thing that sometimes makes us do things is that we do it because it boosts our ego. Kuna kitu inaitwa ego. Sometimes we do that just because we want it to boost our ego. So the reason it's important to ask yourself this question is let me share 2 reasons. And Jedida, you can move to the next screen. 2 things that I think make this question important. 1, you know yourself better than anybody else. So you can be honest with yourself. If you are doing it because everybody is doing it, but you don't have the capacity, you know. So you don't need to do it, do what you have the capacity. You know yourself very well. You know what sort of strengths you have, what weaknesses that you have. You know the opportunities that you have within Meru, within your locality. What are those opportunities that you have? What's your vision of ambition? And as I talk about vision and ambition, which is the second thing, is that asking yourself why enables you to be bold and ambitious. Sometimes we socialize our children in a way that does not empower them to be bold and ambitious. And there is everything right to be bold and ambitious. If you have one retail outlet and you want a supermarket chain, it is good to be bold and ambitious. If you are a poor third world economy like we are today, it is good to be bold and ambitious and say, you know what, we want to export help to the rest of the world. In your household, be bold and ambitious. Move away from that socialization that hii kimbelembele utawacha. As long as the kimbelembele is to propel you forward, that is the only way that we will be able to catch up. Because unfortunately, Africa, we have to realize that we are playing catch up. Everybody is ahead. And Bishop alluded to it. There are many people who would want you to remain behind. Even in the village, there are people who want some people to remain behind so that they can be able to keep tapping into them. But guess what? If too many people remain behind, you've got to invest in extra security because they'll come for your resources. But if we uplift ourselves, then we don't have to worry about some things. Because God in his wisdom gave us very few basic needs. Eat, sleep, wake up, look for food to eat, work for it, sleep again, wake up, look for food to eat. At the very basic, you can continue for life just going through that cycle. So if there's somebody whose cycle is not being addressed, they are not going to let you enjoy your capacity. Let me introduce the second wife. The second wife is this wife called what? Once you decide where you are doing what you want to do, then you have to go to the specifics based on the opportunities that you see. If the opportunities here are in trade, then you decide what you are going to do within trade. Because you've said, I'm doing this, I've got strength here, I know how to deal with this weakness. So you go to very specifics, whether you are going to do professional services, whether you are going to do technological innovation. If you are young, for example, this is where you look and you say, the way the world is going, I must be technologically savvy, and there are many people who are not technologically savvy. Maybe the people who are having the money may not have the technological solutions. That's an opportunity for me because I have the capacity to do that as a young person. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start an incubation lab for all the sharp brains around here who can be able to work at technological solutions. That's an opportunity, that's what I'm going to do. So ask yourself the questions. What do I want to focus on? Do I want to scale my business? If I'm within agriculture, and I've seen the way the rains are going, do I want to move from rain-dependent agriculture to irrigation so that I can be able to supply food when the demand is high and the supply is low? So you ask yourself what you are going to do based on where you are doing it, and then you can move along. So in terms of, again, just snapshotting why is important, if Jedida, you could move to the next slide of why this is important. Again, two reasons. It allows you to explore very widely what are the options are available to me. Because the danger is always just doing what everybody else is doing. That you don't sweat your strengths. So think about the very many options that you can have. And don't be afraid of being different from anybody else around you. By the time Safaricom is coming up with the sort of innovation that we have today in M-Pesa, you can rest assured they were swimming against the current at that point in time. So don't be afraid as you explore your options. Be wide, dream wildly, and thinking consciously about the what allows you to choose from those many options. You land on what you should be doing, not what everybody else is doing, what the current is doing, but you choose what will work for you, what you'll have strength in, not what your neighbor has strength in. We have strength in, as a country in long distance running. If our neighbor chooses to try and do that so that they beat us, they might struggle because they don't know why God has given us that particular strength. Let's quickly move to wife number 3. Jedida, we can move to the who. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, or why I want to do what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I've considered very many options, out of which I have narrowed down to what I'm going to do. Who am I going to bring on board? Which networks am I going to tap into? And this is a place where this forum gets for you. Who do I need on my network? Who do I keep close eye on? Who can give me better ideas? So who will be my network? Who will journey with me? And remember that African proverb that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go fast, which I believe is what many of us want to do, then you go together with whoever you choose you to go together with. Finally, let me introduce, the importance of asking those questions. One is you think through the stakeholders you need very deliberately, very consciously. You don't waste time pursuing stakeholders who will not add value to you, and you are very deliberate about pursuing those stakeholders who would add value to you. So we can move on to the next one, which is the fourth wife, who is when? This is a good question to ask ourselves because we keep postponing things. When do I need what I've decided to do with the people that I've decided to do? When do I approach network 1? When do I approach network 2? When do I approach my financial? If it's farming, when do I need to plant? If I want to get produce when the rest of the farmers don't have. So when becomes a very important question for us to think about. And I'm rushing because I know we are running out of time. So why is it important to think about this? One, you think through the sequences. Because there are some things, and I've seen this in people who are involved in construction. If you don't think about when you do what, sometimes you do something, then you realize, no, I missed out on something, I need to go back and work. So it makes you sequence in a way that you avoid rework. One thing I saw about the economies I spoke about out there, a lot of them you see everything happening like clockwork. And that's not coincidental, it's because somebody has thought about it before. And then it also enables you to promptly make your decisions of when to do what. You take action, you avoid procrastination. Let me now introduce the husband. The husband is how. So this is now where the rubber meets the road. You know, husbands are the magicians that make all the pieces come together. So this question helped bring the piece together. How are you going to do what you have decided that you are going to do? Are you going to rent that shamba? Are you going to buy? Are you going to rent your transport of whatever you are transporting? How are you going to do it? Are you going to sink a borehole to irrigate your farm? This is a place where you make those decisions. The key message here is that, if you can move to the next slide, Jedida, is that you don't leave things to chance. This allows you to think through the details of how you are going to do it. This is something we don't do very well we start doing. We are very good at doing, but we don't think ahead of how we are going to do it. And this makes you anticipate the challenges that you may meet ahead, because there will always be challenges ahead. So, the way the bonus wife is the where wife. Where is also a question that you also need to determine. I'll not go into the detail like I've done with the other wives, because I don't like that particular wife, but you get the gist. So what then is my challenge to us today? Looks like I may need another microphone. Looks like the challenge that I want to talk to us today is, I want to say three things as I conclude. And Jedida, you can move to the next slide. The first thing that I want, if you forget everything else I've said, remember that success does not just happen. If you see Safaricom so successful, it does not just happen. If you see Equity Bank, I see Collins and the rest here. If you see Equity Bank today where it is, it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of behind the scenes. If you see a household standing, if you see CITAM standing the way it's standing today, it's not just chance. If you see Rwanda where they are today, compared to where they were 29 years ago, it's not coincidence. And this is a challenge I'm throwing to you, your success is not just going to happen. You have to cause it to happen. I've suggested a very simple framework of how do you then raise your economic well-being, standard of living in a very deliberate way, not leaving it to chance. And I've proposed to us questions that we ask ourselves today at your own individual level as a community, or those 4 or 5 questions that are very fundamental. The last point I want to emphasize is that never underestimate your greatness and potential. God in his wisdom made us in his own image. And God is a great God. So in us, resident in us is greatness. And don't be apologetic about pursuing your greatness in whatever space God has given you. He's given you very different spaces. From the introductions I had, we are from very different backgrounds. Some of us are in county leadership. That's your opportunity for greatness. Some of us are in business leadership. That's your opportunity for pursue your greatness. Some of us are household businesses. You have opportunity for greatness. Academics, wherever God has placed you, pursue your greatness unapologetically, because that's the reason he made us in his own image. Not to pursue smallness, but to pursue what? But guess where the enemy is? The enemy is who? Us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. May God bless you as you answer your 5 questions, and may you pursue your greatness to the best of your ability. This being a leadership forum, I close by emphasizing what Bishop said, that leadership is an opportunity to bring transformation. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Another round of applause for Dr. Thuku. Thank you so much, Dr. Thuku, for that powerful as exploiting the opportunities, and I believe each of us has been challenged enough. Thank you so very much. I also want to thank Reverend Calisto for that powerful challenge that you brought to us this morning. Let's appreciate these great leaders. Asante sana. Now, I know a number of us have joined as well. We were ongoing, and I don't have the pleasure of the time to acknowledge all of us, but kindly allow me to mention 2. I understand we have the leader of the pastors in town, Reverend Edward. Are you around? Yeah, let's appreciate that, Reverend. We also have the former Chief of Staff, Meru County, Gideon Kimathi. Asante sana. Let's appreciate Gideon Kimathi. Asante sana kwa kuja. Together with us, and I would like us to have some few responses to our speaker's address this morning. And to begin, I want to call Honorable Abdurrahim Dawood to lead in responses, and before I invite 2 or 3 more, and then we shall move on. Let's put our hands together for Honorable Rahim Dawood. Karibu sana.
Our Presiding Bishop, Doctor, I hope it's Doctor, not yet, Bishop Calisto Odede, our County Commissioner, our Women Representative, Mheshimiwa Kaile Emia, our MCAs, Majority and Minority Leaders, Dr. Thuku, and all the Reverends, Professor Romano, and let me leave it at protocols, because there are too many people here, I know, and if I say all, it might take too long. First of all, let me thank Bishop. I think last year we met here. It was in the heat of the campaigns that we came here with our CS. At that time, he was the senator, Mithika Linturi, and other candidates who were looking for my seat. They were not successful because Proverbs says there are many dreams in a man's heart, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. So, and at the end, the Lord's purpose did prevail. I will go straight to what Bishop said. And Bishop said something about protests and maandamano. So in the context of the political life at the moment and the situation in this country, Bishop, I do not want to disagree with you, but I would want to even put it to you and the others who probably heard you and thought that now it is right to go out there and do maandamano. I want to abuse the notion that Bishop said that. I believe he did not mean to say watu waende maandamano. Because in Acts 19:38, although he talked about the land, about the building which was being done, and in Acts 19:38 it says, if then Demeritus and the workmen who are with him have a protest to make against any man, the law is open to them, and their judges, let them put their cause at law against one another. So what am I saying is the ones who are doing the political mandamano, and they are calling for political mandamano, because even the Bible says, do not go for your neighbor's things, or do not eye your neighbor, whatever he has got. And what is happening, this political demonstrations or maandamano degenerate into things which are not right. Because what they do is go and break into somebody's property, steal, or burn, if you cannot, like that Muindi Mweusi supermarket, or the guy who was in Kisumu, or was it in Homa Bay, the supermarket, the Somali guy. He thought he was going there. 207, we had somebody from Darakanidi. His whole hotel was burnt, and he never recovered. Kigwa, is it Kigwa or something like that? Kimwa. So, when we do things, there are consequences to it. You know, we're not looking for votes right now. I remember last time I was here giving all the aspirants, and there was one aspirant I had to take away the mic from her because she was being too much, and we were not doing politics. And I'm not doing politics even today. The other day, on Saturday, I was in 2 functions, and I have seen what Dr. Thuku has put. There was a lady, I think her name is Mwende. the one whose hands were cut by the husband. That was her picture. On Saturday, I did 150 patients with medics from India, Narayan Seva Sanstha, together with the Hindu Samaj in Meru. We measured 150 patients who do not have legs or hands. Over 200 limbs were measured on Saturday. And in 3 months, we will be giving them a new life. So, Dr. Thuku, what you're saying is true. But what you said, a man having 4 wives, polygamy is not allowed in Christianity. But me being a Muslim, I'm allowed, but I don't have one. But the most important lesson, what we are getting from Dr. Thuku, is we have to have self-discipline in anything we do, whether we are leaders. And I hope all the people who are here, when they say leaders, the bishop talked about leaders and Dr. Thuku talked about leaders, I hope people are not thinking the political leaders only. You yourselves, all of you, are leaders in your own right. Sasa, so msituweke sisi wenye siasa, mimi mheshimiwa na wale MCAs, sisi ndio tuko na makosa peke yetu. Hata nyinyi, you are a leader in your own right. Bishop is a leader on his own right. Professor Romano is a leader on his own right. He nearly became political the other day. Niliona watoto wakimuescort. Collins Mkango, he is a leader on his own right. Daktari pale Gaido, hata kama yeye ni dentist, anaharibu meno saa ingine, he's a leader in his own right. So please, even chiefs, even county commissioners, so please, musituweke uchafu ile hatuna kama wenye siasa. That's what I would want to say. Last, this is a very good initiative, Reverend Geoffrey. It's a very good initiative. I wish we had more time. I wish it was not on a Monday morning. You see, a Monday morning after a long holiday is very difficult for a lot of us, because kama ni biashara tunaongea daktari, you understand, that is the start of the week. Ukiwa utaanza wiki vibaya, utamaliza vibaya. So I wish in future you could probably rethink how you're going to do it, so that at least you get the maximum people with the maximum attention. Because otherwise, everybody is looking, when is it finishing? I'm going. I know I was, because I had to go elsewhere. Last, Bishop, welcome back to Meru. I hope and pray the way the Catholic bishops have come out, the CITAM Church will come out as well and put reason and pen to paper and say, we do not want to put this country to the dogs because we've come far. And it's not just Kenya. This economic turmoil is all over the world. If we say today our inflation, and I know Daktari is more, because I've done finance as well, Daktari. I was doing my PhD, lakini siasa iliharibu kazi hiyo, so I could not do it. We have to know our inflation in Kenya is at 9.2%. In the UK, it's 11.5% and above. You go to the UK about a couple of months back, there were no items in the supermarket shelves. You would not believe, it's a first world country. And you are right, we have got the knowledge and the resources in our countries, in Africa. And we should not be looking out to anybody else, really. But shida ni tunapigana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. And we want to bring everybody back. Mtu akienda mbele anavutwa chini. So let's give time. Servers, I don't know where they are. As a politician, server yangu haikufunguliwa kama MP, ama MCA, ama women rep. Hata hatujui hiyo maneno. And I would even say, servers ya kama ni electronic inafanywa ya presidential, we just remove it. If that is what is the problem. Because servers are with IEBC. They are not with the president. So, tungoje 2027 vile I told my opponents, wangoje 2027, hata hawa MCAs wamewaambia, wangoje 2027. So mimi sitaki kuongea zaidi ya hiyo, nikisema Mungu awabariki. Bishop, I have told you what I expect. I hope you will do it with the other clergy. Take this country down the right path. 2027 sio mbali. Kama ndugu yetu waziri wa zamani Mheshimiwa Raila atasikia, nafikiri atakusikia vizuri, because you are a clergy. Unajua mimi nikimwambia hataona. Na kuna mtu juzi, unajua mimi tukiwa na Rais Ruto juzi, sio Uhuru, tulikuwa na Rais Ruto, mimi nilisema kiwete. What kiwete kwa kizungu ni nini? Disabled, isn't it? So I didn't know if I said it wrong, but I said somebody ule alisema nimeiba wheelchair yake. When I'm giving people wheelchairs, where will I steal a wheelchair and take it? And I'm not a disabled myself. So I leave it at that, and I say thank you and God bless. And let me now take this opportunity, if you allow me, to invite my sister, Mheshimiwa Elizabeth Kailemia. Mheshimiwa Elizabeth Kailemia may not have been at State House last Thursday because she had many functions here. But let me put it to politicians and the people who are there out in the social media. You do not have to be everywhere to be said to be lobbying for things. You can be lobbying while you are in the background as well. So Mheshimiwa, the first day she was with CS Linturi, and I was not there. The next day I was there, she was not there. So wale political brokers, please give us a break until 2027. Ningeomba hiyo tu. Karibu Mheshimiwa, mpigieni makofi tafadhali.
Thank you, Meru Motune, my brother. Thank you very much. Our Presiding Bishop, Mami, our Reverend Senior Pastor, and all the other leaders, Bwana Yesu asifiwe. And our County Commissioner, I can see him here. Karibu sana. I don't know whether to call myself a politician or what, but I am, because I'm a member of parliament for Meru County. Otherwise, I'm standing here to give a testimony. Mine is not so much on politics, but a testimony. I am a member of CITAM, Karen. Most of you may not know. Actually, my leadership, because I came here, Dr. asked us, why are you here? The reason why I'm here is because I read leadership. So I said, okay, I'm a leader. About development, ndachia wengine. Secondly, because I'm a member of this church. We started as Nairobi Pentecostal Church in Valley Road. I was not there, but I used to go for morning prayers. I was working with C. Doman, which is just next to the CITAM Church in Valley Road. My leadership is, I was a Sunday school superintendent. I think that's where it started. I don't know where they elected me as a superintendent, but I thought maybe because they think I'm very committed. When I do something, I do it with all my heart. I'm a shy girl, and I've always worked behind the scenes. Even when I started as a politician, people will ask, she doesn't know how to talk. Well, and I'm wondering, okay, I didn't really believe in myself, but now today I've been told to be bold. Thank you, Daktari. Yeah, now I am bold. So from NPC, then Valley Road, I went to start a church in Karen. Somehow I think I'm a church planter. I didn't know that until I realized I'm moving around all over the place planting churches. We were then with, we used to call Pastor White and his wife, we used to call her Sister White. They were amazing people, very humble. And that's when I learned humility. When we were starting a current church, which was the second church, then, Sister White would wake up at 5 o'clock to go and make breakfast. These days I see caterers with very beautiful dishes like these ones. But then, if you can remember, Bishop was not there then. I don't know which church you are then. But those who are there those days, we used to cook with sufurias, big sufurias. Tea, 5 o'clock, Sister White amewekelea chai, kwa makaa. I was in the neighborhood, yet I would not be there before her. And then Pastor White would be outside with the men planting trees because ilikuwa tu jangwa hapo Nairobi, Karen, Sitam. So that's why I learned how to work even behind the scenes. Great men, as leaders, we are here. Great men don't show off. Waweki kifua. We are taught to be kimbelembele. It is good to be kimbelembele, but for the right reasons. Not to show off for the sake of your own glory. We've been taught today, as I learned from that time of Pastor White, is to serve people. Even Jesus did serve people. He was God. Yet you never saw him trying to show off that he's God. Only once I asked Peter, but I guess he was asking for that knowledge. Who do people say that I am? I don't think he wanted to show that I'm a great man, I'm God. What he wanted to show is, do you really know who I am? You're walking with me? That's the why I think that you are asking here. You know, who I am. You know, the why tells you who I am, who we are. But I'm glad Jesus did not show off as much as he was God. By the way, I'm born again. I should say that. But from my talk, I think you realize that I'm born again. And spirit-filled. We say that in our Pentecostal churches. But anyway. So that is my history with CITAM. And who I am today is CITAM. My wedding, after I joined the membership at CITAM Karen, and I was in leadership. At that time, I was in what we used to call social. The people who cook and do all this, take care of the hospitality, the stomach. So I was the leader of that group of serving people, more so pastors' wives and their children. Because, well, the wives are very much involved in the church in CITAM. In Methodists and some churches, I see them nicely seated, being preached to by their husbands. But in CITAM, the wife is part of the mission, or part of the ministry. Yes, thank you, Reverend. So in CITAM also, I was in missionary. We went to Kyuso, I think in Cumberland. We went to Samburu, just taking food and the word of God, sometimes through other churches like KAG, because we had not started any branches. What Bishop preached about is so true. CITAM looks at the whole person. They had started our children's home that time in Keserian, and they were really looking after those children from the streets. We used to adopt them during the holidays. Every parent who wanted to could take them so that they get adjusted to the life in the family. They are very difficult children, but I'm glad that they even I think today it still exists. So actually where I'm standing is just to tell you that let's be, CITAM is not here to show off their neatness, their organization, the way you have, doctor said they walk out nicely. You should have seen me in the choir with a maroon robe and a yellow, is it orange, something, collar. And I stayed in the choir for very many years before I went to start another church in Gong. So I went to Gong with a few of us, with Pastor Bishop now Muredi, Stephen, from scratch. So in the morning, we would go clean up. The Kailamia you see here used to clean up classes, sweep the sand, make sure the way I got from Sister White, the tea is ready for the pastors and the choir in the morning. One time I held the big sufuria, I almost broke my leg because the guy who used to assist me was not there, and now there is time. We made tea from our pockets for about a year before the church grew. And I want to encourage each one of us that God, Anna Dani Amutu, and that's why I'm here. I never remembered. I wish I remembered to tell God like Nehemiah, remember me. I was just doing it because God, I think, has put a spirit of service in my heart. And of course, challenges are always there. One time I remember about our bishop and Mama. I was going through a financial problem, challenge. Mnanionanga mnasema Kailami yako na pesa mingi, lakini hamjui bali the secret is giving and contentment. Sio pesa mingi, it's just contentment. And I went in Sitam, Karen, after every service, there's always a prayer. So I went to him and I explained my situation with Mama. They were there serving, both of them. And he really empathized with me. He actually even went like, I'm sorry, sister, something like that. And from that time, he was then the pastor, senior pastor for Sitam, Karen. And then he had to go to Baptist. And I wondered, now, why did he go to Baptist? Because he was such a good pastor, honestly. But now I'm glad that you are the presiding bishop. I've had very many mentors. Sister Adoyo, we were in school together. She was my senior. And I'm a background person. It's only now I've gone right at the front because of the urge to serve and help the community. Most of the people, actually, they didn't know I'll make it. It is not by strength. It is by the power of the Holy Spirit. Thank you. Now, I want to talk to the chiefs and our county commissioner. Alcoholism, as you have seen, it is terrible now because of the problems, challenges that there are right now. I've had the chiefs, not Chief Margaret, of course. There's Chief Purity, and there was another Chief Mercy or somebody. Not because of those that are here, but there are others who are on salary from those brewers. So I'm urging you, we'll pray. County Commissioner, please, wekelea hiyo sana. Police, I don't know whether there's a police chief here, because they are the ones who are encouraging these illicit brews. Tuweke maanani sana. We are going to lose our youth. Me as a lady, as a woman, I feel so sorry. I feel like crying because of the way we are losing our children to drugs and alcohol. Anyway, I can see Pastor Jack is here, and I know we are long beyond time. And I sometimes wonder, is it, I talk too much sometimes, and are they kunionea kwa sababu mimi ni mwanawake? There's that one, but not with you, Pasi. I'll stop. But more often than not, because of not being so confident and bold, you wonder, ananionea kwa sababu I'm a woman. We have that as women, but God has removed me from that stage. So thank you very, very much. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Bishop, and Reverend Geoff, for what you are doing in this church. I know about CITAM. There are so many things I can talk about them, because I started with them from the beginning. They have made me who I am today. They have encouraged me. They have told me you can make it. Sister Judy, the one who said, Reverend Judy Mbogwa, if we don't get into politics, those who are born again, how do we expect this country of ours to change? And the seed was planted in my heart. That was the beginning of my political ambitions. So I was also in the advisory committee, by the way, in Gong, with Mutua. So I've served a lot in this church. I'm asking that you pray for me. It's not easy in this political scene, in leadership, particularly as a Christian, but God is able. And I've depended on him each step of the way. About business, Daktari, I'll see you privately. About economics. Even I need to be economically aware to be able to teach and bring up the lifestyle of our people. Actually, my logo, when I started politics in 2013, was change our attitudes, we change our lives. And the reason I did that is because of the way CITAM had really, really changed my attitude from a small, shy girl to who I am today. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Sana, asante sana. Let's applaud her some more. Na huwa tukuonei, hiyo haiti yako iko tu sawa sana na sisi. Kuna venye huu unatubamba, wewe ni mama county. Si tumuapplaudi vizuri hata asikie. Wewe unatubamba kabisa. Yeah, najua kwamba kuna viongozi ma MCAs waliojiunga na sisi tukiwa tunaendelea hata kama tulikuwa tumetambua wengine. If we never recognized you, please, and you're an MCA and you came late, kindly just stand up. We want to recognize those that we didn't. Do we have such? All right. Hebu tuwapigie makofi viongozi hawa. Asante sana. We truly appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us. Asante sana. Now, it's my duty and pleasure now to invite the next speaker so that he may respond to what Dr. Thuku and our Bishop Calisto said here. I want to take this pleasure to welcome my friend and our County Commissioner, Frederick Dunga. Tuweke mikono pamoja, tumlete Frederick Dunga. Karibu sana. Karibu sana. Karibu sana, County Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Reverend Jack, our Presiding Bishop, Calisto Odede, and Dr. Thuku, and my friend Ngondo, and all the leaders present today. Good morning. Your response iko kidogo sana, ama mumekasirika? Okay, my name is Fred Ndunga. I am a born-again Christian and associating very well with the Christian fraternity in Meru. I want to start by answering the question, why am I here? I am here because this is a rare opportunity. I rarely get the opportunity to interact with these leaders who are here in this kind of mix. And so I decided that I should come and have some bit of indulgence with them. Secondly, I'll give a very brief report of the county and then make a request. And finally, I'll seek your indulgence in helping us sort out the security, law, and order issues. That is my sector. My sector is charged with the responsibility of creating a conducive environment for all lawful and public activities to thrive. And so I think it is important that I come down to the county. I'm very grateful for the presentation by our Presiding Bishop and also Dr. Thuku. But allow me to come back home. I'll talk about Meru. And I totally agree with the two presentations that have been given on the major issues that are affecting us. And from the start, I want to say that when it comes to issues of security, law and order, development, education, food security, and all those other general issues, they can be sorted out because we have institutions, we have systems, we have personalities who are charged with specific responsibilities to handle those issues. But today, I want to make an appeal to this leadership who are here. In Meru, of course, we have had quite a number of problems, and you know them, and I'll be reminding you. But the challenge I get from where I sit is the cultural and attitudinal issue in Meru. And that is what I'll be appealing to you to help me on. So let me start by addressing the church fraternity. How many church-based leaders are here? If you are here and you are a church-based leader, let me see you. Thank you. I want to talk to you. Number one, there is importance in discussing, reasoning together by the church and the local leadership. And that is why I felt that this gathering is important. The church and the local leadership, we need to talk. Because everybody is so holed up in the silos. We are not coming together and talking together and telling each other what our general problems are. And so, thank you very much, Sitam. You stood with us during the difficult times. And by the way, Sitam is the only church that came to me and asked me, where can we help during the drought time? Other churches, if you are here and you came, can you challenge me? If you are here and you came, can you challenge me? Because I didn't see any. But Sitam came and they asked me, yes, we can see what is going on. And when Meru was appealing for food relief, Meru, people were asking me, is that the Meru we know or another Meru? But Sitam came. Thank you very much. The church must address the ongoing and emerging issues in society. Don't bury your head in the sand on those issues. And also, the church must apply peer appraisal and review. Peer appraisal and review. You know what's happening in some churches. Some churches, I'm putting it in quotes because I don't believe they are churches. You've heard of what's happening in Kilifi. I was in Muranga and there was a church that was speaking the same. They said they don't go to school, they don't go to hospital, they don't register during census and things like those. So church, peer appraisal. Check on yourselves. The church in Meru, Presiding Bishop, I'm sorry, I cannot talk about outside Meru. I am talking to the churches in Meru. Peer appraisal. What is going on? What is being taught there? What are the doctrines there? Are they biblical? So that responsibility, you will have to take it and join in at least sharing. If there is anything queer, anything that is unbiblical, and it is going on in some church somewhere, please let the authorities know. I got so ashamed last night when people were asking in social media that what is happening in Kilifi, isn't there a chief or an assistant chief or an SCC or a DCC, a police station in that area? And so I wouldn't like us to end up in that direction. The specific issue I want to ask you leaders of Meru who are here, I said it is a cultural and attitudinal issue. There are two major problems which cannot be sorted out by those other agencies that I've mentioned. The issue of GBV and assaults. GBV and assaults. I want to seek your indulgence in helping me. We have accepted things that should not be accepted. And therefore, the opinion holders, we need to start talking to our community. Gender-based violence, rape, defilement, incest. And it is acceptable and people are discussing it at home. I liked when the presiding bishop asked, where is that most angry person in society? And I've been encouraging people who call themselves activists to come and join us. Because I know if the community agrees to accept things that should not be accepted, then it becomes very difficult to root them out. So leaders who are here, and waheshimiwa MCAs, you are here, I want you to help me root out the problem of assault. I can report to you that every day, daily, I must get at least 3 murders and 10 assaults. And why I'm appealing to the leadership is that it is like it is acceptable in some parts that are not mentioned. It's acceptable. People take it so normal when somebody can cut the hand of another person and take it to the police station and say, I got this fellow in my Meru farm and therefore I've done my part and I've brought the hand to the police station. And it is acceptable. So this leadership must help us. And that is the area I really want to seek your indulgence. Finally, I know things like what Mom has mentioned. Crime that is thriving because of collusion and corruption. Collusion and corruption. When people can close one eye so that something wrong should go on, it is their responsibility to stop it, but they act blind. They act blind. This is one area in which I want to seek the indulgence of all these leaders in this hall today. And I know some of you may be either just ignoring those issues or fearful. MCAs, you are here, and you know very well wananchi become fearful sometimes to give information. Because when the criminal gets to know who gave the information, the reaction will boomerang back to the person who reported. And so today I want to appeal to us here. There is an anonymous and toll-free short message number. Anonymous and toll-free. 988. Anonymous. Nobody will ever know that you are the one who gave us that information. And that is a good number for busting us officers who are misbehaving. 988. Short message number. Start with the word Meru. And then wherever you are, that specific village or estate or joint where you are. And then whatever evil is happening there that you would like rectified. Mention people's names. Even if it is the county commissioner, mention him. That county commissioner ndio ameiba hii shamba ama ame collect protection fees, ma'am. If it is a police officer or a chief or an SEC or a DCC officers, because you know, for things to change, we must call the spade a spade. That is the number which I would like you to help us. Please give us information. I know these people sometimes when we give blanket statements that there is a lot of illicit brew in that area. People can still hide under that. But if we can say, there is Mwongera, who is the chief brewer in this village, and the area chief knows, and he is part of the problem, and you put it on that number. The moment you put it on that number, that information will be seen by the CS Interior, Inspector General of Police, the 2 Deputy Inspector Generals, the entire regional county security team, and the entire county security team. And nobody can sit on that information. So that is how I would like you leaders to help us. And leaders, tell us the truth. Tell us the truth. Wacheni kutupaka mafuta kwa mgongo wa chupa. And the church-based fraternity, you know very well, I'm one person who likes to be told where things are not moving well. Tell me. Frankly. So that we can be able to rectify matters. So I would like to continue much more than that, please, and allow me, Presiding Bishop. I had mentioned to you that there is another issue somewhere which I was supposed to address, but decided to come and make this appeal to these brethren here. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Asante sana County Commissioner wa Gatuzi la Meru, Bwana Fred Ndunga, kwa wosia wako ambao kweli kabisa naamini kila kiongozi aliye hapa ameuchukulia na kutilia maanani. I would like now to take this opportunity to call my friend Collins Mokango so that he may help lead us to a structured engagement on what has been happening today, and then shortly we'll be coming to a close, but kindly we request that we remain till the end. We will not take long from now. Collins Mokango, tafadhali.
Praise the Lord, church. I know we don't all belong to Sitam, but we are here in this sanctuary. God is in our presence. Thank you very much, Bwana MC. I'm taking very few minutes. I know most of you, as one of the speakers said, is on a Monday, and you need to go and set up whatever you do. I can see Professor is here. I'm sure he wants to know what is going in the university. My sister Mary is there. She also wants to know. So we will take a very short period. What we want to do is I recap shortly what has been said, and then we take a few questions. And we agree on the way forward, because we say one of the things we are known as a country is that we are very good in policies. But we want to say, where do we go from here? And where do we go from here, we agree. Of course, there will be other meetings after this. This is not the end. This is the beginning. And one of the things I've heard, and even our Mr. Ndunga has alluded, a mindset change. We've been told by our bishop that there are enormous opportunities in the county of Meru, in Kenya, and we should not be having any economic challenges. All we need is to have a mindset change, grab the opportunities, learn with them, and we have been given by my friend David the four, let me dwell on the four Y's, not wives, W's, the four W's. My bishop is there. I don't want to go to that direction. David, the four W's and one H, the how. Why? What? It's why, what, when, and who. Then, how do you do it? The last one was where you do it. But if I may go back a bit, Dr. David Thuku also mentioned Meru was the first county, because we are talking about leadership and economic development of Meru County, was the first county to grow coffee. Did we know that Meru is the largest in terms of per capita economic GDP? And the beauty of that largest per capita GDP is on the small scale order. And that's why you find, even in this town, unlike if you remove Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nairobi, this town has the second largest number of financial institutions. That tells you there's a lot of money circulating. If there's a lot of money circulating, there is a lot of economic opportunity. And some of the economic opportunities I may mention is value addition in our agricultural produce. Why should we export tea at 300 shillings, that is $3, call it 350. It goes to London, and that tea, when it's packed, the same kilo going for 350 goes for 1,500 to 2,000. Coffee, the same. Macadamia, which we buy at 70, I don't know whether we know, when it's processed, a kilo goes for 1,500. So there's a lot of opportunities. And we want maybe to ask a few questions from my brother, Thuku, and from my Reverend Bishop, Calistus, Odede, so that we clarify and then we agree on where do we go from here, because we need to go somewhere from here. So without taking much time, I will not be able to recap everything, but I know we have it. But one of the key areas is the mindset change and taking the opportunities to develop ourselves. We have been given very good tips by a doctor, and we need to take care of it. I think we will allow a few questions, if you allow me, Bishop. Okay. Prof, you can please join us.
Thank you very much. Bwana asifiwe sana. Praise the name of Jesus. My name is Romanus Odhiambo. I'm born again. Christ is Lord and Savior. I came here some 4 years and about 7, 8 months ago. And when this church was in Kenyari, we were some of the pioneer members in Kenyari. Lest you forget Senior Pastor Geoffrey. And before Jeff came to CITAM, we were co-pastors together in Family Fellowship Church of Christ in Nairobi for about 7, 8 years. And some 44 years ago, happened to have known your presiding Bishop Calisto. I'm really happy to see you, that you still maintain the faith that you had 44 years ago. I'm the Vice Chancellor of Meru University of Science and Technology. And I think I came to really tell all the people who are here that there's a lot of opportunities, investment opportunities in Meru University. When I came, we had 4,500 students. Today we have about 11,000, 12,000 students. And for those of us who are working in government, you know it is not government policy really to put money into where students do stay, the hostels. And that is left for the community. I've been talking to my friends in Meru that these opportunities are there. I'm only able to accommodate only 1,000 students. In the next 2 or 3 months, over and above the 10,000, I'm going to bring another 4,000 students. Where they are staying is a problem. Actually, my students come from Gitoro, those of you who live in Meru, up to Paskianjai, and then almost 10 kilometers when you walk into Nchiru going down. It's not very good. The opportunities for building student hostels is just great. And when I came, I heard we have bankers here. We do have circles here. I'm sure we also have investment clubs. We tried this experiment in JKU at some 30 years ago. And today, all of you, when you go to Nairobi, Georgia is a city. We can do it here in Meru. And the investors, be they the circles, be they the banks, I think we just have to mobilize ourselves. The community leaders, the MCAs, my friend, the MP who has left, the women rep, I mean, all of us have to mobilize people to do this. Because universities are also meant to empower the community. And the only way of empowering the community is really to get many students in Meru University and you take care of them when they are outside there. That is an open thing for the banks. It's an open thing for the circles. It's an open thing for the investment clubs in Meru. And we as a university are working on how are we going to engage so that this thing happen. If you are interested, pick it up. Number two, we have all these students. And what I've heard my friend, the county commissioner, talk about security, be it drug abuse, be it alcohol, be it what, you can be sure we have it in the university. One way we have agreed as leaders of the university is really to engage students. Engage them in sports, engage them in counseling, engage them in religion. And Pastor Jeff, you remember the other time I allowed you were there the whole night with all my students and many times. By the way, you have almost over 100 of my staff here and my students here. So involve them. But we have also found that extracurricular activities is very important. But we don't have enough resources. And again, most of you people who are here, the banks, the circles, the investors, sometimes you do CSR. We have opportunities, you come and work with us, you want to put something for games, you want to do for me additional swimming pools, what have you, we'll brand you and this will put your name, even when you go to heaven, it will remain down here. Bwana asifiwe sana, thank you very much. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much, Professor. Pore, I had overlooked the program a bit. I now want to call one more person, the county, the finance chairman of the County Assembly of Meru, to give us a word, and thereafter we open the forum to everybody to ask questions. All give his opinion, and then we can agree where do we go from here. Thank you.
To our bishop and all Orinda's protocols observed. My name is Caleb Odede Kebuko, and I deem it a great honor this morning that one, God has given us an opportunity for us to come as Rinders, so that one we can engage among us and also we can learn. You know, someone saying, ability to learn is the biggest or the greatest quality of a good Rinder. So today, when we are sitting, all of us, and we are learning, it shows the quality of leadership in us. Because one, we want to learn more, understand more what we don't know, and it makes us grow as leaders. Today, we've learned a lot. I will say that to Bishop, and we really appreciate even the sacrifice to come from Nairobi to Meru to empower the people and leaders of Meru. As the chairman finance Meru County from the assembly, I want to say there are many challenges. And it is important for us to appreciate that. But I can say, we will not say everything that has been said in the past, that we have to borrow from people. We need to be also independent from what God has endowed us with. Meru County is a rich county. And from that, hatutongojea msaada kutoka nje sana tena. So from where I sit and where we are as an assembly, we will go back to the drawing board and ask what can we do to empower our people. It is the most important thing. You see, many times we don't see what God has blessed us with. Being the chairman finance, we've been looking at many ways for us to not only raise funds, but many ways for us also to support the many ministries that we have, many projects that we have. It is unfortunate that it has been said here that Meru County, we've been having the problem of fund shortage. It shouldn't be happening because we can invest in what God has blessed us. Again, as I finish it up, we were expecting the leadership of the assembly, but unfortunately, our speaker and most of the leaders that we had, we've had so many committees meeting because we have ADP, we are planning for the budget and the like. And even personally, I'm supposed to be chairing one of the meetings. So most of those leaders were engaged in that front. So please, it's not that they didn't want to come. We want to have many and many and many of these meetings so that we can ask, why are we here? I would like to ask that question a lot. As we live in this forum, it is important. As readers, we ask, why? Why are you a reader in that position that you're holding? So from me and the assembly, we want to encourage you and tell you asante for giving us an opportunity to be part and parcel of this gathering today. Asante sana na Mungu awabariki sana.
Thank you, Caleb. Thank you. We are just about to finish, and thank you for your patience, great men of God, great men and ladies of God. Just in a few minutes, we want to take one or two questions. Thereafter, we have your opinion, your guidance on how we carry this forward. We form a committee. We meet here again. I'm giving you so that you can be thinking as we take one question or two, or if there is none, we just go, where do we go from here? Because we must have a way forward. We've agreed this is the beginning, not the end. And a lot of the speakers here have given us very good insight into the opportunities in this county. Great, great opportunities. And our speaker, Dr. David, has given us the way to have a mindset change and see those opportunities, because we can't see them unless we tweak our mind to see them. Thank you. We have the first. Is that a question or a way forward?
Questions.
Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, all of you. My name is Brian Mulwa, and I have 3 questions. I think all of them go to the county government. One, if indeed Kenya boasts of a robust financial technology integration, why is it in some of the departments in the county we still pay in cash? For example, if I want to have that health certificate for me to be able to work in the food industry, I have to pay in cash to the public health office. My other question, I have observed that there is a lot of tree cutting in Meru. Every day you will see those tractors, and they're not going to plow, they're going to cut trees. So my question is, what is the county government doing, one, to control the rate of deforestation, and two, to ensure that more trees are planted? Then my last question, I personally work with in the food processing in the macadamia value chain, and one of the challenges that we are experiencing right now is the challenge of the low prices, and it is not something that the processors have like connived to do. It's because of the
important as had been described by the speakers, that leadership is the ability to inspire, guide, and influence groups of people towards attainable, towards specific goals. Now, that took me back so many years when I was a young officer in the Air Force. I do remember one of the first lessons we learned at the flying school was navigation. And there's something which I took away from, I think it was the first or second unit of navigation, as was taught by an eminent gentleman by the name of Colonel Kinywa, now retired. He told us that if you don't know where you are not lost. You are merely confused. Therefore, how I do apply that in my day-to-day thinking and so on and so forth is, one, when you have a problem, you have got to be able to define it and then juxtapose it on the final destination, the solution which you are seeking, such that that guides the path which you took as has been articulated by the esteemed Dr. who told us that. Now, a lot has been said. I will not repeat that. However, I would like just to make a remark on the issue on the impact of leadership towards the transformation. Every time, and I know this is a touchy topic, but you indulge me. Every time when we think or hear about politics, which we cannot avoid, I think about the Football League. Both of them are high-octane sports, quote unquote, if I can use that term. A lot of resources are involved, passions, and at the end of the day, someone is a winner, the other one is not. And unfortunately, in my opinion, we just stop there instead of taking a step further.
Brother, let me answer you. We are going to the way forward, and that's what we are saying. This is the beginning. We are going to sit down, and we are forming a committee, and that's what we want to agree for a bigger planning. So maybe you can allow us so that we don't delay these people. When we sit down, we can join that committee.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are two questions from our brother there. I think for you, yours is futuristic. Allow us to address it as we address the way forward. I saw the county people here. Those people are mainly about the county because you cannot be able to answer them. Anybody who is here from the county to take it for us? We'll submit it to them. There are three very clear questions: deforestation, digitization, what do we do about deforestation, why are we not fully digitized as other counties, and then the low prices of macadamia, what can we do to support that? I think from there, we want to close on the questions. And because of time, we should have been out of here a few minutes ago, and we don't want to hold you people any longer. You are leaders in your own light, and we want to release you to go and do what you do best. We want to hear way forward. I can see my friend Jack. Pastor Jack is ready to go. What do you suggest we do? Give Mr.
Well, I was standing up to take after you, but I believe as we have agreed that we will sit down, we will be able to submit every submission that needs to be done to relevant and various stakeholders, because we need to have this ongoing, not just here in Meru. I believe we are able to expand it, and I think as we have agreed, that shall take place soon. Asante sana.
Thank you. Thank you. What he's saying is we are going to connect with the corporate world. We are going to connect with the spiritual world, the religious people, the leadership in the counties, the leadership in the national government, the leadership in the business, national, the Meru chapter of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, so that we can see how we can move from here. That's what Jack is telling us, and that is what we're going to do. And we will ask our pastor to get a team that will champion that. And I think he has somebody, because he has what we call a CITAM Business Forum, to champion that so that we can see the opportunities. Prof has given us very good opportunities. So allow me up to there give it back to our senior pastor, Reverend Geoffrey.
Let's appreciate Collins and brother. Now, because we have to bring this to a close, and thank you all for taking all this time. We had projected to finish by 10:30. Now it's 12:30. Is it 12:30? No, 12. It's exactly 12. And so we need to wrap in this manner. Number one, as Collins has already mentioned, of course, Jack has given us that overall picture of the summary. But we called us here, one, to think, to hear, to stimulate our minds, but also, and of course, as somebody said, to also take the breakfast. But after taking the breakfast, we cannot leave without agreeing on some action points. And that's what our brother was concerned. So Collins answered him before he finished his question. So thank you for reading his mind, and he agreed with you. So that means he read your mind. Collins read your mind. We had invited Chamber of Commerce chairman. I've not seen Joshua. Is Joshua in? Joshua didn't come. We had a discussion with them, and of course, listened to where they are going, and he really submitted that what we are thinking about is what we've been thinking about. And so we are at diverse areas of engagement, government, businesses, various types of businesses. The question we are asking you, this was an initiative of CITAM, and of course part of the church leadership here. What do you think should be the way forward from today? Yes, we called you. Yes, we've taken breakfast. Yes, we've been engaged. And I would also still want to bring David. David, just come and stand with me here. As we think on what should be the action. Because if we come here and talk about macadamia, somebody's asking, the speaker talked about macadamia here. I've had a young man there asking about macadamia and what chain? Value chain addition. It's called value chain addition. But what should we do as Meru leaders? How do we move on from here? Yes, they have said we are thinking there should be another forum. It may not be sponsored by CITAM, but this team should engage, should talk. I mean, we have just painted the bigger picture. So with that bigger picture, how then do we move forward from today? You have your microphone? Let me give you a new microphone. We need to agree. So before we walk out, and I'm seeing many people are trying to decide really on their feet, they want to walk out. How do we move? As CITAM Meru, let me just mention this. Bishop mentioned that as CITAM, we run something called CBF, CITAM Business Forum or CITAM Business Fellowship, where we engage all our members who are in business. Last year, I would have been asked, how many of you came here last year when we had a business expo? Here in church, we conducted 2 days of business expo. Business exhibition, yes, business exhibition. Here, exposing people with various businesses even from outside to the members so that people are known, they are more visible. And then we gave them opportunities to buy and to showcase their ventures, what they do. But also I saw hospitals coming here, setting up various points. And so those are the things we need to do. I know we have the showground and they do their work, but the small person and in the small areas where we are, we need to be visible, we need to give room, we need to give ground, we need to do trainings. That's what our business CBF does, CITAM Business Forum. And so, my brother, I could even start with you. Apart from the question you are asking, what do you think we should do from here? Let me just start. You didn't tell us your name. What do you think we should do from here? Just in 1 or 2 words, without thank you. What do you think we should do? Your name again?
My name is Paul Rukaria. Okay. The point which I was trying to bring across, and which really absolutely must come across, is that we cannot divorce economic development or social progress and leadership. And where does leadership sit? Leadership sits largely with the politics. Therefore, as we look at these solutions, we cannot look at them in isolation. We look at a macadamia problem, we are looking at a border problem, we are looking at a barabara problem and those kind of things. It must be a conversation which must be multi-leveled but pointed.
Paul, is it Paul?
Yes, it is.
Paul, you are right. That's where we are, because it must be an ongoing conversation. A conversation that is not just based at CITAM here, or based on a few people. It's a conversation that's all going to be all inclusive. So we have politicians being engaged. We have the business community being engaged. We have the government being engaged. And so I agree with you, Paul. Thank you. Yes, but we need to nail it down. Yes, sir. Please, let's have several microphones walking around. Yes, thanks. Collins, please, we need some secretary. Right, thanks.
My name is Dr. Mutunga from Kenya Methodist University. I believe that to get the all-encompassing forum,
yes,
we need to engage, first of all, the county government in the drive, either through their CEC trade or whatever. And I'm very concerned that I didn't hear any apologies from the governor or the government of Meru County. Of course, a few representatives were here. But that's where the leadership will come from. So that we don't have this forum as a SITAM or one denomination forum. It's a county government initiative. It's also the county government that can galvanize all the various branches, the farmers, the industrialists, the business people, the traders, so that in this forum, we can say, I cannot process my macadamia because there are so many taxes, for example, the prices are low. I cannot open my shop because there are so many, there's so much interference. And then we try to break the bottlenecks to doing business. If we want to industrialize or to go to huge ventures like Prof. Romano was saying in building hostels, the government of Meru cannot be out of it. So I think we take it back to the government and
thank you, Dr.
take leadership from them.
Thank you, Dr. The only apology I received from the county government is that of the CEC, the Minister Waziri of Trade. She was supposed to be here, Monica McKenna. Also, Speaker Ayub also sent his apology, but the Minister Waziri McKenna was supposed to be here, and she sent an apology saying this is something that came up they need to do in Tharaka. But I agree with you. So yes, we are saying whatever is going to take place, we need to get the country government also involved, and if possible, giving us the leadership. But thank you. Yes, Isaiah is here. Give Isaiah the microphone. There's one behind you.
Yeah, thank you, Mchungaji. My name is Isaiah, who never knew me. There's an African proverb that says that a dog of many owners dies of anger.
A dog of many owners?
Dies of anger. So this is an initiative that you have started, and I would think that if we leave it to many owners, definitely this cause will die.
Yes.
And definitely we should get somebody who champions this cause. Okay. We may not have everybody at the point of start,
yes,
but let's start as we are.
Okay.
Others we can join as we go.
Beautiful. So we move on, but don't leave people out. Move on. Let's have an initiative. Let's own. Actually, that's the word. Let this baby have an ownership. Or let this dog. Let the dog have an owner who will feed it. All right. Thanks, Isaiah. Isaiah is the CEO of PELT. Anybody else? Yes. I don't see the hand. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Give us your name and then your. Please, microphone. Give us sound. Yes.
Okay. My name's Jacob Mati. I'm from DTB. I'd like to generalize the whole concept that has brought us together. This is about economic empowerment. Yes, we want to be empowered economically, but I thought it is good for us to be focused more on how or what we want to be empowered. How will we be empowered? In the sense that, because first we must identify what we want, which is already identified, and then let's know where we are and how we'll get there, and ask ourselves whether we're on the right course. If we answer all these 4 questions, then we would in a position to know that now that I know I want to go to Nairobi, am I going to walk? Am I going to crawl? Am I going to fly? Then you would ask yourself, as per where you are you on the right course to your destiny or to the Nairobi that you've identified you want to go?
Thank you, my brother. You said your name is?
Jacob Mati.
Now, Jacob, you are asking very relevant questions, and they are the questions we've been asking ourselves here. So could we narrow? Please don't generalize. Narrow.
Yes. Yeah.
1 minute.
Yes, please. Okay. My general question, or rather, observance is, if we could know, if we want maybe our youth to have financial freedom, what kind of initiatives, what kind of businesses, or where can we generate the revenue to empower them?
Thank you, Jacob.
Yes.
Now, those are the details. Those are the nitty-gritties. We come with the whole idea. If we get a team, if we agree that we are moving on with this one, then if I should also mention, I also invited the CEC of youth. Also, I think she also gave an apology. The youth, it's called Youth Culture and Agenda. The CC at the county. She was supposed to be here because I told her this engagement must also bring youth on board. So you're very right. So the key issue then is those are the details that must come once we agree on the way forward, that this is what we want to push on with, and then we want to care about the youth, we're talking about drug issues, we want to care about the poverty and such. So yes, I agree with you, but then that now becomes the details that we must work on. But thank you. Yes, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Rev. Jeff. I know we are looking for the way forward. As a leader, somebody has just mentioned that some of the things are political, and I'm very interested, really, to see that we have empowered our people here in Meru, and my way forward was to start a radio, which I'm already on the way, to connect farmers and buyers, those things. I'm not an expert. That's why I would really want to rely on Dr. David, but I would request everyone here, I can see they are mainly business people. I'm open. If there's anything that you'd wish me to either legislate or talk about, because as politicians, we are majorly talking, I can foster some of those things that we are saying. If it's the youth, put groups together, maybe call one of the MDs of those banks or SACCOs, and I'm just giving myself to the way forward, because I know from here we are going to move forward. Thank you.
So as I allow David to come and just give a crowning statement, thank you, Mheshimiwa. That's already a way forward. So let me ask, with those ideas about the way forward, I want to propose that from this forum, could we get a few people to sit down, continue thinking, and then engage with the county, engage with the government, but then we agree on, we will call us again. All right? But now, we may not call us for a big breakfast, but we need to call and agree, because we need to bring everybody on board, as many as will be willing. But we need to get a team that can help us think through, identify ideas, identify key stakeholders, not leaving anybody outside, driving, because we are looking forward to a better Meru. Are we together? Are we together? We are looking forward to a different, better Meru. Leave alone the issue of 2027. By the way, I really thought that our MP, and he has left, really missed up the idea, missed out on what our Bishop was talking about, and we thought we needed to correct that, but he has left. Because he missed out the idea about being angry enough. But we are talking about angry enough for a better place, all right? Not in terms of maandamano ya kwenda kuharibu vitu za watu. Daktari. So he makes a statement, then I will ask us to volunteer a few people who can sit down and talk about this, and I'll give us direction forward on that.
Thank you very much, Rev. As he called me forward, I wondered what Rev wanted me to do. But let me say, what has just been demonstrated is the fact that leadership is not easy. And leadership is not for the faint-hearted. If you are faint-hearted and you're in leadership, I ask you to move away from leadership. It's not for the faint-hearted, because getting people to follow, and somebody defined leadership, getting people to follow is not easy. You can see what Rev is done here. He's demonstrated great leadership together with the team here. And I still feel that we need to clap for him, a big clap. Because getting Meru together, by the way, Rev, are you from Meru? He's not from Meru. But he's come here and seen, you know what? And I tell you, I don't come from Meru either. But I can tell you for free, when I look here, I see great opportunity for this county to be the model county of Kenya. Now, that will take leadership. And what Rev is demonstrating again is that leadership is not a crowd thing. You've seen one aspect of leadership is decision making. Where do we move from here? We will consult, we will what? But sometimes, remember, we ended up with a H. The husband brings everything together. And by the way, Bishop, forgive me for using many wives and one husband. It was just to help us remember it was 5 W's and the H. The how. Very important. How do we move from here? And there is the danger of what we do a lot. We talk, we leave, nothing happens. How I pray that we don't sit here this morning and nothing happens for this great county of Meru. My suggestion, which aligns with what Rev has said, is that, and I like the example, that this idea, ownership, comes from the heart. It's not acted. My suggestion, speaking from somebody from outside Meru, my suggestion would be, Rev, still maintain the steering wheel of this initiative, bring people on board. The example of the train has how many engines? 1, at most 2. Very many wagons. But the engine determines whether that train is going to reach. My proposal is that, Rev, now that we've started a very good thing and we've got an infrastructure, don't be like this example of birds, marabou storks that were brought in a room to be taught how to fly for 3 days. And they were taught, they practiced, they were flying in the air. They could fly. Marabou storks, the big things. When the conference closed and the benediction was made, they walked home. After learning how to fly for 3 days and practicing within the room, when final prayer was said, they walked home. And you still see them walking even today. Meru people, Meru leaders, Meru business community. Leadership is not for the faint-hearted. Let's support Rev as he brings together like-minded people. Is he going to get opposition? Yes. When the wall was being built, they said even foxes will just be blowing. This initiative of yours, people will pour cold water on it, Rev. But take heart. Bishop will be praying for you. These people will be praying for you. So my suggestion is that we don't imagine you'll boil the ocean. Just boil a small kettle of water. Don't think, start somewhere and keep moving. Thank you very much.
Appreciate Daktari. We want to make a benediction prayer, a concluding prayer. But as has been said, let's own this idea. Well, let me get a few people from various sectors of our economy to be involved. County government will be in. Of course, they're not here. I assure you, the CE trade will be in. The CEC trade will be in. All right? All right. Let me get volunteers. Who has key volunteers who think they can volunteer? They feel there's a fire, there's something that we can do. Let me ask. Mheshimiwa is number 1. Isaiah is in. Winnie is from the county government, by the way. So Winnie is the. You said you headed the business development unit of the.
My name is Winnie. There is a parastatal in Meru County Investment and Development Corporation that is mandated to promote investment in the county.
All right.
So I head a department of business development.
Okay.
And I think this initiative will work closely together so that we can propel the opportunities that are in Meru County, as well as supporting the investors.
Thank you. So we have the county government already in a different way. Thank you. Isaiah, so we've said Isaiah in terms of security, yes, sir? From Equity Bank, Meru, all right, so we have a bank person. Sorry, Collins, did you get the names? Just say your name again loudly. Also, no, where unajulikana? Where unajulikana? Isaiah, what's your other name? Kerema. Yes, is that Kerema from Pelt? Yes, yes, sir. Your name again? Paul?
Paul Rukaria.
Paul Rukaria, which sector?
Kenya National Training Corporation.
Kenya, KNTC, KNT? Yeah, KNTC. Thank you. Can I, any sector that feels is left out? Any farming, any farmers? Nobody is doing farming here in Meru, except Mweshemiwa. All right, so we have a young man called Brian from the cashew nut. Okay, so we have Isabella. Agribusiness, so agribusiness, of course, we have Brian. Brian Mulwa. Brian Mulwa from, remind us your company. Nuti Nuts. So that's value addition and agri. Okay. Any sector we are leaving out? Yes. Academics, yes. Dr. Muturi has left. Dr. Muturi, academics and prof has left. And the VC, Mary was here. She's left. She's left. Oh, pharmaceutical. And there are many pharmaceutical will be invited. I don't know whether they came. But of course, so academia, I'll talk to Dr. Muturi from Kemu also later. And we can also get somebody else from Meru University. All right. Any sector left out? Of course, the national government, at least we have Chief Margaret. Chief Margaret, let me volunteer you in because you are our chief in this area. Yes, so Chief, I have volunteered you in. Yes, which sector? Talk to us. Your name and your sector.
My name is Patrick. I'm representing the Boda sector.
Wow, yes. Yes, we need it. Patrick, your name, your other name is?
Patrick Moguna.
Patrick?
Moguna.
Moguna. All right. Now, all these people, now apart from Reverend Jeff, all right, we have Colonel Gatobu down there. Give him the microphone. Medical, yes. Colonel Gatobu, of course, the CEO of Jordan Hospitals, we know.
No, I didn't want anything else. That's the comment I wanted to make.
Okay.
Nimeshukuru sana.
All right, thanks. So we have that. Well, we have a big team already. People of God. Somebody else is raising his hand, but I know kidogo hivi, musaidie. Huyu sasa amenua kubwa. Final person there. And I hope the task force committee is gender sensitive.
Okay, my name is William Wambugu.
William?
William Wambugu.
Wambugu, okay.
Yes, representing the Kenya National Chambers of Commerce.
Meru chapter. I looked for you. I looked for your chairman. Thank you. That Chamber of Commerce is in. Thank you. And finally, we have Sister Helen there.
Okay, my name is Helen Kaberia. I represent the newly created directorate in the governor's office called Governor's Delivery Unit.
Wow. We are in. We are sorted. Please, all that team, let us give our phone numbers to Collins. Collins, just rise up again. They know you, but just rise up again. Let's give our phone numbers to Collins, and then we will agree on a meeting and agree on the way forward. Come on, put your hands together for the Lord. At this point, we are grateful. I know I have, let me ask, is Kim in? Kim was supposed to give a vote of thanks as he comes to give a vote of thanks, and then I'll ask Bishop Moroki to come and make a prayer as we close. But from our hearts and from, of course, on behalf of the bishop and the CITAM leadership, we are very, very, very grateful for, please help me to appreciate this man. This man, Reverend Jack. Beautiful. We call it love. Thanks. Now, Reverend Jack is reminding me that we have Meru Friendship Festival that begins on 1st of June, ends on 4th of June. We are hosting Dr. Peter Yongren from Canada, a great man of God. He's been in various parts of this country. He's coming this time to Meru, and many initiatives are going on for the pastors, for those who you are all church people. I've just realized everybody here is a church person, and so Dr. all of them are church people, and so please When you hear anything announced from your churches, from various platforms, please let's rally people towards this. It will be held at Kinoru Stadium. And so 4-5 days of engagement with Dr. Peter Yongren and his team. Please let's catch up with that. Kim.
My name is David Kimathi Nkuru. And I want to take this opportunity to first appreciate God for giving us a successful event. When we embarked on planning this event, we cannot for sure say that we really knew what would be the outcome. But sincerely, I personally think that we've been able to achieve our objectives. And moving forward, we are hoping for better things ahead. At this particular time, I would want to take this opportunity to appreciate our Presiding Bishop and his wife for gracing our occasion. From when we started the anniversary Sunday, you've walked a journey with us. Definitely walked the journey with the Meru Sitan Church, and even for your remarks and your talk about the mindset, that really got me thinking. And I hope everybody who got an opportunity to listen to our Presiding Bishop got some food for thought concerning the mindset and the reality that the mindset, our mindset is actually the one that is holding us back. So thank you so much, our Presiding Bishop. Our keynote speaker, Dr. David Thuku, thank you so much for your 5 wives led by the husband. And when I came to Sitam personally, it's not very easy to say, but I met an holistic church whereby I was fed spiritually, given information on how to grow my business, given information on how to be a better family person. And the aspect of a holistic church is something that even our religious leaders who are present need to present to their churches, whereby you empower your members in an holistic way. So thank you so much, the keynote speaker, Dr. David Thuku. Our county commissioner, I don't know if he's left. We also had members from our county assembly. We also had members from our member of parliament, Honorable Rahim Daoud. Also our present is Mama Safi, our mother in our county. Thank you so much for allowing yourself to be here and making sure that you wait until we finish the event. I know you're busy, but you decided to do that intentionally, and may God bless you. To the office of our county governor, we also appreciate you. We got a representation from the office of the county governor through our very able ministers and directors. Although they left early, maybe we kind of got late, but we apologize. In this edition, we also got, in this edition of our forum, the event was also graced by the VC of Meru University, the DVC of Kemu, a registrar from also Kemu, the chairman of KNTC, our Captain Rokaria. Thank you so much for being here and allowing yourself to be used and help us identify the way forward. We also have managers and leaders from different institutions, NHIF, CEOs from different businesses here in our county. And finally, I want to appreciate our senior pastor who has provided leadership to our team. That team includes our praise and worship, the protocol team, our ushers, the security team, Thank you so much for allowing yourselves to be used of God, and thank you very much. Our service providers, our caterers, they've walked the journey from Sunday. Yes, Aspire Catering, he was serving us breakfast from Sunday, served us lunch on Sunday, and also served us breakfast today. And we would comfortably refer for more business. Our planning committee, I will take this opportunity to appreciate my team members. I will ask them to stand up kindly. Yes, from that side we have George. We can appreciate him. George is the director of Culture Fitness. Also appreciate him because he's allowed us to use the parking at his business premise at no charge. So thank you so much, George. Then next is my brother, Kano Katobu. Let's appreciate him. Then my brother, Julius, a man of promise. Walk the journey together. Thank you so much, my brother, Julius. And finally, our elder, Katobu. Sorry? Oh, there is Lydia. I'm sorry, Lydia. Lydia, we also appreciate Lydia. He's given us a lot of insights when we were planning. And finally, my brother, Katobu. So once again, I want to appreciate all of you for allowing yourselves to be here. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Bring in Bishop Moroki to come and pray. David Kim Nkuru was the chairman of this forum, but then he also worked under an overall chairman. Joseph was the overall chairman with other team members. Joseph, just greet people again like this. Yes, thank you. He was the overall chairman, but for this forum, he was working. Team Kim worked under him, and we are grateful. These guys have worked. Come on, they have worked, amen. But we also appreciate the other service providers, like I think this is called Green Care, Green? The providers of the tables, Joseph, they're called? Green Acres, yeah. So we appreciate and all the others. Please appreciate, let's welcome Bishop Moroki just to come and pray with us. We are grateful. Thank you, people, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. We bless God so we can bow for our prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you. We bless you for today since this meeting started. Lord Almighty, we asked you for a better beginning and a better heading of the same. And now, Lord Almighty God, Father, we have seen the success of the same and we bless your name. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for everything that we have been taught in this place. Because, Lord, we are empowered now that, Lord, oh God, we can develop ourselves. We can, Almighty Father, call our own in our own meeting. That, Lord Almighty, we can, oh Father, develop what is within us. Blessed be your name and exalted be you. Because, Lord, you have created in us in such a way that, Almighty God, we can, Almighty, succeed in this life. Father, we thank you. Blessed be you for all the speakers. Blessed be you, Father, mighty God, because you gave them even good health. Oh, Lord, to travel, to be with us here, Almighty God. And Jesus, we thank you because you have, oh Lord, used them to help us and, Lord, to develop us. Blessed be you, God. Thank you for everything about this economic or leadership forum that, oh Lord, it has not left us the same we were. Mighty God, we have been given light and now we can walk and we can light our world and we can succeed where we were not able to succeed. Blessed be you because, Lord, you are innate. And if you were not the one, Lord, Almighty, helping us, then we could not have reached to the point. Exalted be your name. because you're with us. For those who are traveling far and near, I pray that King of Glory, you will cover them. You will give them protection back to their destinations in the name of Jesus Christ. Blessed is your name, because in everything and at the end of everything, Almighty Father, even when people arrive to their destination, glory will come back to you. Thank you, and be exalted in this forum. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray and give thanks. Amen. The Lord bless you. I'm Bishop Gerard Muroki with the CFF Meru. Amen.